The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 951 Blue Star. Indeed, I don't like to execute people casually. Li Huamui continued, if there is a mutiny within the Star Pirates, the winner will put the loser on a planet, leaving only a few daily necessities and laser pistols as weapons. Oh, this method is a little milder. Xia Xingchen nodded. Master Axing, do you mean to take away their mechas and spaceships, and then put them on this planet D76 to let them fend for themselves? Yes, this is a good way. We don't have to kill people, and our whereabouts will not be leaked. Li Huamui's eyes lit up. Take away all the mechas and spaceships, leaving only some self-defense weapons on this wild and dangerous planet. What's the difference between your approach and directly killing them? Xia Xingchen asked Li Huamui. This? Li Huamui was speechless for a moment. My opinion is to give them a spaceship. Xia Xingchen smiled and expressed his thoughts. A spaceship? That's too cheap for them. Li Huamui frowned tightly. She didn't expect Xia Xingchen to make such a merciful decision. This kind of mercifulness was even a little too virginal. However, Li Huamui could feel that Xia Xingchen had a kind of iron-blooded aura. He was obviously a decisive person. Why was he so virginal in this matter? Li Huamui couldn't figure it out. How is the Son of Slaughter's space pirate ship compared to the Mary? Xia Xingchen showed an unfathomable smile and suddenly changed the subject. It's much bigger and more advanced. Li Huamui said honestly. Then we will change ships and drive the Son of Slaughter's space pirate ship away. Leave the Mary to them. Are you willing to do so? Xia Xingchen said. I'm willing to do so, but I don't quite understand why I should leave the spaceship to them. Li Huamui was still confused. It's not a complete ship. It's a spaceship without communication equipment and only 10% of the engine power. Xia Xingchen smiled and said, they will have to wander in the starry sky for at least a few months, or even 1 or 2 years. This? Li Huamui was stunned for a moment, and suddenly understood what Xia Xingchen meant. Li De Tao Jiang, luring the tiger away from the mountain. Whether it's killing these captured pirates, or leaving them on a desolate planet to fend for themselves. These pirates are of no use at all. However, if these pirates are allowed to wander in the starry sky driving the Mary, then the pursuers will be misled, and when they wake up, Li Huamui and Xia Xingchen's group will definitely have arrived at the Azure Star. This is the best use of everything. Li Huamui realized at this time that Xia Xingchen's method has nothing to do with kindness, and it can even be said to be cruel. Just think about it, a group of pirates drifting aimlessly in the endless starry sky in a spaceship with a power loss of 10%. How desperate this feeling is. The key is that they all know in their hearts that they are bait. If they were rescued by a merchant ship in the end, it would be fine. However, they would most likely be tempted by Blackbird's bounty and found by the pirates who were looking for the whereabouts of the Mary in the chaotic starfield. These pirates went through untold hardships and finally found the Mary, but they found out that none of the people on the ship were from the Bloody Mary pirate group. How would the pirates deal with Wiggins' gang in anger? In short, an extremely tragic fate awaited Wiggins' gang of pirates. Li Huamui immediately adopted Xia Xingchen's opinion and asked the crew to move all the things on the Mary to the Son of Slaughter pirate ship. Xia Xingchen had also dismantled the communication system on the Mary, and the engine power was reduced to 1/10 of the original. Wiggins' gang of pirates were driven to the Mary, and after being towed by the Son of Slaughter, they entered space and sailed towards the depths of the universe at a very low speed. The only thing to be thankful for was that the life support equipment on the Mary was still intact and the energy was sufficient. However, their food can only be synthetic nutritious meals with extremely bad taste, and they have to eat them for months or even years. The Son of Slaughter Star pirate ship continued to fly towards the Azure Star according to the original route. 4 months later, the Mary was discovered by a group of star pirates chasing the bounty offered by Blackbird. After a tentative attack, the star pirates bravely boarded the Mary. They were shocked to find that there was no living person on the Mary, and all the crew members were dead. The death of these crew members was very miserable, all in pieces, and a thick layer of blood scabs condensed on the floor. These crew members died by killing each other. Li Huamui and Xia Xingchen both overestimated the cohesion of the Son of Slaughter Star pirate group. In the second week of the voyage, serious disagreements occurred within the Star pirate group. In the end, the crew killed each other and turned the spacecraft into a real sure hell. At this time, Xia Xingchen and his group, under the banner of the Son of Slaughter, safely passed through Blackbeard's territory and arrived at the Azure Star. Azure Star is a veritable water ball. More than 98% of the planet's area is ocean. Only 2% of the land is basically barren reef islands. Such a planet with almost no land can develop because of its superior geographical location. Azure Star is located at the junction of the Chaos Star region and the Antarctic Star region. The cargo ships of the Galactic Empire and the Star Pirate ships of the Chaos Star region must pass through here. Edward the Jackdaw, who controls Azure Star, also spent a huge amount of money to build 3 huge artificial islands on Azure Star. People on the planet call these 3 islands North Island, South Island and Central Island according to their locations. The North Island is a slum, the South Island is a rich area, and the Central Island is a commercial area. There are not only bridges connecting the 3 islands and ships passing through, but also underwater tunnels, making transportation very convenient. Of course, the easiest way to go to each island is to drive a mecha and fly directly over. That's right. Unlike the Black Tower Star, Azure Star does not have a strange rule that mechas are not allowed to enter. This is a truly free planet. Of course, in order to curb the spread of crime, Edward sent his most capable subordinate, Death Messenger Hades, to guard this planet. The laws of the entire planet are implemented by the Imperial Law, which is a very strict law for Star Pirates. Overall, the public security situation of the Azure Star is more than a dozen streets ahead of the Black Tower Star. It can be seen that Edward is far more capable than Blackbeard in governing the planet. The Son of Slaughter Star pirate ship landed at the airport of North Island. As soon as Xia Xingchen got out of the cabin, he smelled the fishy and salty sea breeze. Looking at the endless sea, his brows frowned. The reason is very simple. The ecological environment of the Azure Star is special. On this planet, that is all ocean, the mechas either fly fast or are good at moving in water. But the King Lang mecha has not yet been equipped with thrusters and can move on 2 legs. In other words, on the Azure Star, the King Lang mecha has no place to use it at all. Chapter 952, Mechanical Overlord Kajik. We must equip the Azure Dragon Mech with a propulsion device as soon as possible. Xia Xingchen thought to himself, otherwise, the Azure Dragon Mech will be useless on the Azure Star. However, according to the blueprint, the Azure Dragon Mech's propulsion device must use the Sky Dragon wing instead of other propulsion devices. Xia Xingchen showed a difficult expression on his face. The Sky Dragon is an extremely rare alien sacred beast. This strange alien creature, after tens of thousands of years of evolution, can fly in space. The wings are 100 meters long, and when they are flapped at will, there will be a strong wind, and they can shuttle between planets. The Sky Dragon is more precious than the star-devouring python. According to the price on the Black Tower, the remains of a Sky Dragon will cost millions of star crystals. And it is a rare opportunity, and you must be extremely lucky to be able to buy it. Xia Xingchen's current money is only 1,000,000 star crystals, which is not enough to buy a Sky Dragon. 200 star crystals a month. For Li Huamui, it is already a high salary that a star pirate group cannot afford. However, there is still a huge gap from purchasing the remains of the Sky Dragon. When I arrive on the Azure Star, I must find a way to make money, gather wealth. If it is absolutely necessary, I can only part ways with Li Huamui and the others. Recently, Xia Xingchen has developed some feelings for the Star Pirates of the Mary. However, Xia Xingchen had to separate from them. Everyone has their own ambitions, and Xia Xingchen's ambition is not just to be an interstellar pirate. Xia Xingchen still has many important things to do. Princess Yu was captured by Qin Yun and is suffering in prison. Xia Xingchen must strengthen her strength as soon as possible, obtain the authority of the Star Domain Arc, fight back to Shine Yuan Star, and seek justice. Xia Xingchen stared at the endless blue ocean outside the airport, and he already had a plan in his mind. At the exit of the airport, all kinds of people lined up in a long queue and were registering their identities. In order to ensure the safety of the Azure Star, like the planets of the Galactic Empire, unless there is a special identity permit, otherwise, you must register your identity at the entrance. 4-star pirates and above can be exempted from this cumbersome procedure. However, the Bloody Mary pirates are only 2-star pirates, and even Li Huamui can only queue up obediently. At this time, a group of people came over from the VIP channel next to them. These people were arrogant and looked down on others. They didn't need to queue up at all and wanted to pass the level. Wait a minute. Suddenly, someone stopped and the flashing electronic cigarette fell on Xia Xingchen and Li Huamui. This person was Morris, the leader of the Deep Sea Demon Pirates. When Morris saw Xia Xingchen and Li Huamui, he was stunned for a moment, then a look of surprise appeared on his face. He waved his hand and shouted, "Stop! Guess who I met?" The pirates around Morris stopped, and their eyes fell on Xia Xingchen. Ah, it's him. Bloody Mary pirates. Blackbird's bounty pirates. This is a hard-earned search, and it takes all the effort to get it. The pirates have all seen Xia Xingchen, and they stopped and laughed wildly. HMM. Xia, why did you stop? Did you see someone you know? Behind Morris, a rather huge space pirate stopped. The upper body of this space pirate is the same as that of an ordinary person, but the lower body does not have legs, but the tracks of an armored vehicle. When it moves, it makes a deafening roar. Morris looked at the weird man whose lower body was a tracked vehicle with a respectful face. Brother Kajik. Those people are the space pirates of the Bloody Mary pirates. The ones who are wanted by Blackbird. I didn't expect that we would meet here. I had some minor frictions with this group of people. While Morris was speaking, his eyes were cast on Xia Xingchen, which contained a strong hatred. This is not a minor friction. It is simply an irreconcilable hatred. Oh, it's them, who are wanted by Blackbird? Kajik raised his eyebrows and looked at Xia Xingchen and Li Huamui in surprise. Kajik? Mechanical overlord? Li Huamui was stared at by this tracked monster, and the hair on her body stood up immediately, and her brows were tightly furrowed. Do you know these monsters? Xia Xingchen asked in a low voice. The pirates around Morris have all undergone more or less mechanical modifications. Some have tracks on their legs, some have pliers and sickles on their arms, and some are made of steel except for the head. It is understandable that Xia Xingchen calls these people monsters. They are all different from humans, and these transformers do not consider themselves human in their hearts. The mechanical overlord pirates, the 5-star pirates, the leader Kajik, the terrifying S-class mecha master, the existence that can compete for the title of the pirate overlord. Li Huamui's body trembled slightly. The difference between the 2-star pirates and the 5-star pirates is really a world of difference. Kajik, the most notorious pirate in the Chaos Star region. Ah, he is known as the Demon King. He kills people like flies. Horrible. So terrifying. When the pirates in line saw Kajik, they all shrank their heads and showed fear. Humph. Kajik smiled coldly, rushed forward with his tracks, and came directly in front of Xia Xingchen and Li Huamui. He was tall to begin with, and his lower body was covered with tracks, which made him even taller and more terrifying. He was 3 meters tall, looking down from above. His electronic eyes scanned Xia Xingchen and Li Huamui, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a contemptuous smile. You are the people Blackbird wants to kill. Very good. I can get a large bounty by handing you over to Blackbird. Kajik stretched out his right hand, and his palm retracted into his arm, turning into a black laser muzzle, pointing at Xia Xingchen's head. Xia Xingchen's face was calm, staring straight at the muzzle, unmoved. Kajik. This is Azure Star. Jackdaw Edward's territory. How dare you take action here? Don't you take Edward seriously? Li Huamui's heart sank, and she shouted. Edward? Who is he? Kajik laughed wildly. Compared with Lord Blackbird, he is incomparable. I tell you, within 3 years, Edward will be eliminated by Lord Blackbird. Kajik. What did you say just now? Say it again. A cold voice suddenly came from behind Kajik. Everyone turned their heads and saw a handsome man in a luxurious cloak, guarded by a group of powerful star pirates, walking over with a cold face. Jackdaw Edward, one of the 7-star pirate overlords in the Chaos Star domain. When Kajik saw Edward, his face suddenly turned pale, and he hurriedly said, "Lord Edward, you just heard wrong. I didn't say anything." From Kajik's retreating words, it can be seen that he is very afraid of Edward. After all, this is Azure Star, the territory of the Star Pirate Overlord Edward. I hope I heard you wrong. If you dare to disrespect me again, I will expel you, and you will never be able to set foot in my territory again. Edward waved his hand with an annoyed expression. Of course, of course. Kajik lowered his head and said hurriedly, completely losing his previous arrogance. Chapter 953 Central Island. Kajik is an S-class mecha master and the leader of the 5-star pirates. He is notorious. However, in front of Edward, he is like a mouse seeing a cat. It can be seen that Edward is much more terrifying than he looks on the surface. Let's go. Although Kajik was unwilling, he did not dare to act rashly in front of Edward. He yelled at his men and the group passed the checkpoint. Morris turned around and glared at Xia Xingchen fiercely, with his fierceness beyond words. "Are you the pirates group that Blackbird wants a bounty for?" Edward walked towards Li Huami, Xia Xingchen and others, and his eyes swept across the faces of the group. Xia Xingchen was very young and did not show his true colors standing in the crowd. Edward's eyes did not even stay on his face, thinking that he was just an ordinary young pirate. Only Li Huami and Tichen were worthy of Edward's slight gaze, but it was only for a few seconds. Edward's face showed a deep disappointment without concealing it. The Bloody Mary pirates were just a 2-star pirate group. The leader, Li Huami, is not bad looking, but not stunning. At least, she is not in the eyes of Edward, the Star Pirate Overlord. Edward originally thought that the Bloody Mary Star Pirates were hunted down by Blackbird, so there must be something extraordinary about them. However, Edward did not find anything worth his attention in this group of people. Maybe they were just unlucky and were hunted down by Blackbird because of his anger. Blackbird has an unpredictable temper, and this kind of venting is not the first time. You have fled to the Azure Star for thousands of miles to get my protection. Yes, I don't have a good relationship with Blackbird. But if you want to get my protection, you must also show your value. Edward said lightly, if you are only worthy of staying in the North Island, I advise you to leave the Azure Star as soon as possible. After Edward finished speaking, he turned around and left in full view of everyone. Big sister, what does Edward mean? Is he willing to protect us? Tichen asked in a low voice. He has made it very clear just now. If we can only stay in the North Island, we will not be able to get his protection. Li Huami shook her head slightly and sighed with an unpleasant expression. Azure Star, known as the Star of Freedom, is actually a place with clear hierarchy. The North Island is a slum, dirty and chaotic, with murders and robberies happening every day. The public security here is even worse than that of the Black Tower Star. Edward's security team will not set foot on the land of the North Island. This is an abandoned place. Central Island, the commercial district. There are good and bad people mixed together, but at least there is a security team in charge. The public security situation is much better. South Island, the rich area. To enter the South Island, at least you must have a guarantee from the 5-star pirates. Here, there are birds singing and flowers blooming, and it is peaceful and quiet, which is a world apart from the North Island. Obviously, Edward looked down on Xia Xingchen and his group, thinking that they were not even qualified to enter the Central Island. But this time, Edward was wrong. With Xia Xingchen here, let alone entering the Central Island, even entering the South Island is not a difficult task. The Bloody Mary pirates were not worried at all. Under the strange looks of the pirates in front of the checkpoint, they passed the checkpoint of the airport and entered the North Island. As soon as he entered the North Island, Xia Xingchen felt that there were countless fierce eyes cast at him on both sides of the chaotic street. In the dark alleys and behind the windows of the streets, countless pirates were whispering, discussing how to surround and kill Xia Xingchen and his group. Obviously, Morris had spread the news of the Bloody Mary pirates, attracting countless pirates to covet them. Edward was right. If Xia Xingchen and his group stayed in the North Island, they might not survive for more than an hour. Master Axing, what should we do? Li Huami frowned and slightly tightened the laser pistol at his waist. The North Island is not a place for us to stay for long. Xia Xingchen pursed her lips and said, the South Island requires the guarantee of the 5-star pirates. Moreover, Kajik must have arranged people to obstruct us. No pirate group will guarantee us. We can only go to the central island. For pirates like us, there is a time limit to purchase goods on the central island. We can only stay for a maximum of 24 hours. Li Huami showed a difficult expression on her face. Buyers can only stay for 24 hours? In this case, we will be sellers. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly. I have actually wanted to open a mecha repair shop for a long time. Make a fortune. Although the life of a star pirate is free, it makes too little money. Master Axing, you want to open a shop? Li Huami was slightly startled. Then what should we do? Do you want to leave my star pirate group? Captain, people go to high places and water flows to low places. Aren't you tired of the wandering life of star pirates? Xia Xingchen turned his head to look at Li Huami and said seriously, but I don't mean to leave the star pirate group. Once a brother for life. I understand this principle. Li Huami breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that Xia Xingchen was a person who valued feelings and would not abandon her. I heard that in the chaotic starfield, in addition to the wandering star pirate group that wanders around, robs and plunders, and carries out missions, there is another type of star pirate group that uses the planet as its base and acts as a guard for merchants or caravans. Xia Xingchen said. Yes, but my star pirates group is still too weak and not qualified enough. At least the 3-star star pirates group has this qualification. Li Huami hesitated. It's enough if I say you have it. Xia Xingchen smiled and said, Captain, I opened the shop. I'm the boss. From now on, you don't have to pay me. I'll pay you. Be the star pirates group that escorts my soon to be opened mecha repair shop. The monthly remuneration is tentatively set at 2000 star crystals. Is that okay? 2000 star crystals? Li Huami took a breath of cold air. Now the Bloody Mary Star Pirates group earns between 200 and 500 star crystals a month, and they have to take great risks to perform missions and work hard to get such a small reward, 2000 star crystals. Their income was increased tenfold for no reason. Such a good thing as simply a pie in the sky. How could Li Huami refuse? Although she was a little worried about whether Xia Xingchen could earn so much money to pay her remuneration, Li Huami quickly agreed and was willing to be Xia Xingchen's Star Pirates group. Captain, from now on we are no longer superiors and subordinates, but partners. I wish us a happy cooperation. Xia Xingchen stretched out his hand and said with a smile. Li Huami stretched out her hand and shook it gently with Xia Xingchen, with a blush on her face. Let's go. Go to the central island. Apply to open a store at the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce. Xia Xingchen waved his hand and took the Bloody Mary Star Pirates on a huge cruise ship and headed towards the central island. Chapter 954 Huge Deposit. Li Huami and the others have fled to the central island. Morris was drinking with Kajik in a bar on the North Island. When he heard about Li Huami and her group, he smiled grimly. I expected it a long time ago. It's useless. They still have to get out in 24 hours. That's when they'll die. Captain, I heard that they have submitted an application to the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce on the Central Island, wanting to open a store on the Central Island. This way they can stay on the Central Island forever. A Star Pirate said cautiously. Open a store? A small 2-star pirate group. They still want to open a store on the Central Island? Morris and Kajik looked at each other and laughed. The star pirates in the bar also laughed loudly, and some of them even laughed so hard that they choked. I'm a 5-star pirate group. I may not be qualified to open a store on the Central Island. Why do they have the right? They are really desperate. Kajik took a large glass of starry sky rum, tilted his head back, and poured it into his mouth, his eyes bloodshot. Indeed, it's not easy to open a store on the Central Island of Azure Star. Even I can't afford the huge deposit for opening a store. Morris nodded. They can't succeed. But, there is always a chance of something happening. Kajik poured another glass of wine. I have some friendship with Renault, the director of the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce. Tell him. Haha, Lord Kajik actually knows Director Renault. Just create some difficulties for them, and they will have to retreat. In this way, it must be foolproof. Morris laughed and drank the wine in his hand. Azure Star, Central Island, Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce. There are two giant buildings on the central island. One is the Star Pirates Guild and the other is a Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce. The Star Pirates Guild is responsible for all matters of the Star Pirates group. For example, issuing missions, collecting bounties, and star rating evaluations of the Star Pirates group, and so on. The Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce is responsible for all commercial activities on the central island, and is more like a government office. In terms of level, the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce is a little higher than the Star Pirates Guild. Because the Star Pirates Guild is for all kinds of Star Pirates, some of whom are rich, while others are very poor. The Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce is for merchants, including many mecha repairers. In the chaotic starfield, mecha repairers are too rare, so they are more noble than ordinary mecha repairers. The Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce also has a distinct bureaucratic style. Simply put, it is to look down on people. Xia Xingchen and Li Huamei have submitted their applications and waited in the hall for a full hour. The staff were very idle, chatting and joking, drinking afternoon tea, but no one came to greet them. Li Huamei was angry and whispered, "Why do these people have eyes on their foreheads?" Xia Xingchen smiled slightly and said nothing. In the Galactic Empire, what kind of bureaucrats has Xia Xingchen not seen? Such things are too common, and he has long been accustomed to them. Number 7. It's your turn. Finally, a staff member came over and said to Xia Xingchen in a very rude manner. Xia Xingchen stood up and followed the staff to an office. Xia Xingchen pushed the door open and entered a spacious room. Two staff members, a man and a woman, were sitting behind the table, drinking coffee. The woman was still playing a jigsaw puzzle on the computer. Seeing Xia Xingchen coming in, they didn't even look up, and their attitude was extremely arrogant. "You want to open a store on the central island? Take out your mecha repairman certificate and let us see it." "No," Xia Xingchen said lightly. In fact, Xia Xingchen's master badge was enough to shock these two guys who looked down on others. However, Xia Xingchen could not take out the master badge. Unlike Li Huamei, these two people could immediately use the number on the master badge to find out Xia Xingchen's true identity. Xia Xingchen was rewarded by Blackbird, which was already a troublesome thing. If others knew that he was an S-level wanted criminal of the Galactic Empire and Kinyan offered a reward of 100 billion star coins, I'm afraid the entire Chaos Star region would be in an uproar. "No certificate?" The man raised his head, with a little shock on his face. "What? Without a mecha repairman's certificate, can't you open a store on the central island?" Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows. "Of course you can." The man's eyes showed extreme contempt, and he smiled coldly. "However, if you don't have a qualification certificate, you need a huge deposit to obtain the qualification to open a store." "How much?" Xia Xingchen asked. 1 million star crystals. The man quickly pressed his hands on the keyboard, calculated a number, and then looked up and said a shocking number. Hiss. Even Xia Xingchen couldn't help but take a breath after hearing this number. "There is no way. Since you don't have any qualifications, then according to the rules and regulations of the Azure Star, you must submit such a large deposit to prove that you have the ability to open a store." The man smiled coldly. "If you don't have so much money, please go back." Obviously, this staff member did not think that Xia Xingchen's huge sum of 1 million star crystals was already in order to expel him. In fact, Xia Xingchen did not have so much money on him. At most, there were only more than 40,000 star crystals. "Do you accept mortgages here?" Xia Xingchen asked. "Of course. We accept mortgages of real estate, spaceships, mechas, and high-end star skeleton beast armor materials. But, your mortgage must be valuable enough. We are not a scrap collection station, and we don't accept any junk." The man laughed coldly. "Can a brand new star-devouring armor be mortgaged?" Xia Xingchen said lightly. "Star-devouring armor?" The man's face suddenly showed surprise, and the indifference and arrogance on his face were swept away. He smiled warmly, as if changing his face. "Do you have a star-devouring armor? Or a brand new one? If you really have it, we will give you a price that will satisfy you." Star-devouring armor is a hot-selling product anywhere in the Chaos Star domain, and the same is true on the Azure Star. "Tell me the price," Xia Xingchen said lightly. "Well, 1 star-devouring armor, 200,000 star crystals." The man immediately said a price. "Not bad. Xia Xingchen nodded slightly. If the star devouring armor is taken to the market, it can be easily sold at a high price of more than 200,000 star crystals. The price of 200,000 star crystals is already relatively low. However, selling and mortgaging are different. Mortgage, the star devouring armor is still in Xia Xingchen's hands. As long as he paid back the mortgage within the deadline, he would still be the owner of the star devouring armor. If he couldn't pay it back, the star devouring armor would belong to someone else. Xia Xingchen was naturally confident that he could pay back the mortgage within the deadline, so he wasn't worried at all. Chapter 955 Shop number 13. Do you really have star devouring armor? How many do you want to mortgage? The man rubbed his hands nervously. Well, since it's a deposit of 1 million, 1 star devouring armor is 200,000, so I only need to mortgage 5. Xia Xingchen chuckled. Mortgage 5 star devouring armor at a time. The man was stunned. In the Chaos Star region, there are not many people who can take out 5 star devouring armor at a time. Each of them is a dominant figure who dominates one side, or a big businessman who travels across the star sea. The young man in front of him is not very old, just in his early 20s, and his appearance is also ordinary, but he can actually take out 5 star devouring armor at a time. The man felt that he had made a mistake. Moreover, from what the young man said, he has more star devouring armor. Star devouring armor is not cabbage. After confirming that Xia Xingchen did have more than 5 pieces of devouring star armor, the man's attitude took a 180-degree turn. He was extremely enthusiastic towards Xia Xingchen and took out a business card. Mr. Axing, my name is Pete, and I'm a staff member here. I will immediately help you get the qualifications for opening a store on the Central Island. Please wait. Money can make the world go round. Xia Xingchen just showed a little bit of financial resources, and the attitude of this staff member named Pete immediately changed. Xia Xingchen was no longer surprised by this result. Pete was very efficient. It only took 20 minutes for Xia Xingchen to get 2 documents. One was the qualification certificate for opening a store on the Central Island, and the other was the certificate of mortgage of the devouring star armor, and the repayment time was 60 days. For most people, it is absolutely impossible to collect 1 million star crystals within 60 days. But for Xia Xingchen, this time is quite ample. Next, Pete invited Xia Xingchen to an office and personally made him a cup of coffee. He said eagerly, Mr. Crossing, you should have a few pieces of devouring star armor in your hands. Are you interested in cashing them in? You know, in the early stage of opening a store, a lot of working capital is needed. And I have some good channels. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly and drank a sip of instant coffee. Not impossible. I just need money. Well, I can sell 2 pieces. 2 pieces, great. Pete smiled and was extremely happy. He was even more enthusiastic about Xia Xingchen. Pete's salary was not high, only 100 star crystals a month. But he worked in the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce and had a wide network of contacts. Devouring star armor was a best-selling product, so Pete didn't need to worry too much to sell it. He earned a little commission in the middle. Don't underestimate these commissions. 1 piece of devouring star armor costs at least 200,000 star crystals. 2 pieces cost at least 400,000. With Pete's channels, it would be easy to sell it for 500,000. Even if it was a 1% commission, he could earn 5,000 star crystals for free, which was equivalent to his salary for 2 or 3 years. The reason why Xia Xingchen gave the star devouring armor to Pete and asked him to help sell it was to give him some benefits. Xia Xingchen knew Pete very well. As long as there was a little favor, he would do things very quickly. Moreover, Xia Xingchen really needed some money as startup capital. Pete could be said to have made a lot of money this time, and naturally he respected Xia Xingchen, the god of wealth. Mr. Crossing, although you have the qualifications to open a store on the Central Island, you still need to acquire a store. If you want to open a store, the housing prices on the Central Island are very expensive. However, I will take care of the matter of finding a store. Pete patted his chest and said, I have helped you find a store with good quality, low price and good location. Thank you. Xia Xingchen nodded. He actually had no requirements for the location of the store. Good wine needs no bush. Xia Xingchen is very confident in his skills. However, since Peter is willing to help, it is naturally the best. Mr. Crossing, please wait. I will go get some documents. I remember that several shops mortgaged their land deeds to our Chamber of Commerce, and they have expired recently. 2 shops have good locations. Peter has decided to build a good relationship with Xia Xingchen. Just after meeting, Xia Xingchen made Peter earn 5,000 star crystals. If such a god of wealth is served well, won't it be a source of wealth in the future? Yeah. Okay. Xia Xingchen nodded and drank coffee alone. Peter just left the office and was stopped by someone. Oh, it's Director Renault. Peter turned around and found that it was his immediate boss. Peter, who is that person in your office? Is it a young man named Crossing? Renault is fat, pot-bellied, and has a face full of fat. He is a typical bureaucrat. Yes, it's Crossing. Peter nodded. Oh, you found an excuse to reject his application. Renault said directly without much explanation. Ah, supervisor, you are too late. I have already handled it for him. Pete was stunned and said with a bitter face. You kid, you are usually procrastinating. Why are you so efficient today? Renault's face suddenly turned cold, waiting for Pete. Is he qualified enough? Did you take his money? No, really not. Pete waved his hands repeatedly. Although taking money to do things is a tacit understanding of everyone in the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce. However, this time Pete really did not directly accept Xia Xingchen's bribe. Supervisor. This young man named Axing directly took out 5 pieces of devouring star armor as collateral. You say, with such a god of wealth, can I not run faster? I just don't know. You have a grudge with him. Pete felt aggrieved. On one side was his immediate superior, and on the other side was the god of wealth. He felt it was difficult to deal with. Hiss. 5 pieces of devouring star armor? Renault immediately took a breath of cold air, and his face changed instantly. Renault knew very well what the 5 pieces of star devouring armor represented. When Kajik greeted him, he only said that the other party was a 2-star pirate group, and was not worth worrying about. Renault thought that it was just a 2-star pirate group, and he would not take it seriously at all, so he was naturally happy to do Kajik a favor. However, the person who could take out 5 pieces of star devouring armor at one time was definitely not as simple as a 2-star pirate group. Renault suddenly felt that he was in a dilemma. On one side was Kajik, the leader of the 5-star pirate group, and on the other side was a mysterious young man who was rich and powerful, and took out 5 pieces of star devouring armor at one time. Renault didn't want to offend either side. After thinking it over and over again, Renault finally made a decision. He felt that it would be better not to offend Kajik. After all, Kajik's strength was real. But he didn't know Xia Xingchen's strength yet. Pete, since you should have handled the qualifications for our crossing, forget it. Has he chosen the location of the store? Not yet. Pete said. Oh, that's great. Let's give him the store number 13 on Black Friday Street. Renault smiled sinisterly. That store is so unlucky. Within a month, this guy will lose a lot of money. Within 2 months, if he can't pay the 1 million deposit, the 5-star devouring armors will be in our pockets. Store number 13 on Black Friday Street. Pete was stunned and whispered, whoever touches that store will go bankrupt. Isn't this too cruel? Chapter 956, Haunted Shop. Although Pete felt that the actions of Director Renault were too cruel, and it was obvious that he wanted to force this young man named Axing to go bankrupt, he was no match for his superior. Pete had to obey the orders of his boss after all, so he could only find the deed of the store number 13 on Black Friday Street in the vault, and return to the office with a trepidation. When he entered the office, the panic on Pete's face was swept away, and he smiled and praised the store number 13 to the sky in front of Xia Xingchen. The location is excellent, close to the dock, the transportation is convenient, and the most important thing is that the price is cheap. This deed only needs 100,000 star crystals. The same type of store starts at least 300,000 star crystals. 100,000 star crystals? Xia Xingchen was a little hesitant when he heard this ridiculously low price. The deposit was 1 million star crystals. In the end, this store only needed 100,000 star crystals to get it. Looking at Pete's fake smile, Xia Xingchen felt that things were not that simple. But Xia Xingchen didn't say anything. He took 100,000 star crystals and reserved the deed temporarily. Then he said that he would go to the store number 13 on Black Friday Street to have a look. Of course, Pete sent Xia Xingchen out of the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce. Master Crossing. How is it? As soon as Xia Xingchen went out, Li Huamui, Tixing and other star pirates surrounded him with a look of concern. They are now grasshoppers on the same rope. If Xia Xingchen fails and cannot open a store on the central island, what awaits them is the siege of countless star pirates and a tragic death on this blue ocean planet. Of course it's done. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly, shook the store opening certificate in his hand and said, "Now, I'm going to see the store. It's on Black Friday Street." Great. A touch of joy flashed across Li Huamui's face, and she felt relieved. Let's go. Let's go together. Tixing was also very excited. Well, I can go alone to look after the store. Xia Xingchen paused and pointed to the Star Pirates Guild not far away. You have more important things to do. What important things? Li Huamui asked curiously. The Star Pirates Guild is responsible for evaluating the star rating of the Star Pirates. I think the star rating of the Bloody Mary Star Pirates should also be re-evaluated and upgraded, Xia Xingchen said. Li Huamui and others suddenly realized that improving the star rating of the Star Pirates is indeed a very important thing now. The two Star Pirates were looked down upon and discriminated against on the Azure Star, and it was inconvenient to do anything. If the star rating of the Star Pirates can be upgraded to level 3 or even level 4, those random Star Pirates will be afraid and dare not come to trouble themselves. The star rating of the Star Pirates does not represent strength. However, it can greatly reduce trouble. What's more, the Bloody Mary Star Pirates now have 12 mechas equipped with the Devouring Star armor. The combat effectiveness has increased by more than 10 times compared to before. It is a very simple matter to upgrade to a 3-star pirate group. It is not impossible to upgrade to a 4-star group. Master Crossing, let's go and do a star rating for the pirate group. I believe it will be done soon. After we finish our work, we will go to the store number 13 on Black Friday Street to find you. Li Huamui greeted Xia Xingchen and walked into the building of the Pirates Guild with the pirates. Xia Xingchen looked at the backs of Li Huamui and others leaving, stopped a hovercraft on the side of the road, handed the driver a star crystal, and soon arrived in front of the store number 13. Sir, I advise you not to enter this store. The driver was a black man in his 30s. Looking at the direction of the store number 13, his eyes showed a strong fear. Well, what's wrong? Xia Xingchen asked curiously. Legend that this place is haunted. The black man swallowed his saliva and said seriously. Haunted? Xia Xingchen was speechless for a while. In today's technologically advanced era, nonsense such as ghosts and gods is still popular, especially among the star pirates. The theory of ghosts and gods is particularly prevalent. For example, the legend of the star ghost ship is very popular. Many crew members are very confident that they have seen the ghost ship with their own eyes and the dead on the ship. However, Xia Xingchen does not believe in ghosts and gods. He only believes in science. The so-called ghost phenomenon is nothing more than the star pirates' ignorance, and they regard some phenomena that cannot be explained by science as ghosts and gods. Thank you for the reminder. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly, thanked the black driver, and walked to the door of shop number 13. The location of shop number 13 is very good. There are wide roads around it, and there is a pier not far away. It is indeed convenient for transportation. From the appearance, shop number 13 covers a large area, which is twice or even 3 times that of nearby shops. The architectural style is the most common dome style in the chaotic starfield. There are 3 floors in total, and the decoration is also quite exquisite. It looks pretty good. But in front of shop number 13, there are few people. Even passers-by take a detour, obviously very afraid of this place. Such a large place, only 100,000 star crystals. It's really cheap. Xia Xingchen pinched the title deed in his pocket, thinking secretly in his heart, and walked into the interior of shop number 13. The shop was still open. The dim light illuminated the huge house, and the counter was empty. There were almost no goods, full of a dilapidated feeling. Several big rats were poking their heads in the corners, staring at Xia Xingchen with their small green bean-like eyes. Behind the counter, there was a middle-aged man sitting. He looked to be in his 30s, a yellow man, wearing a grey work suit, and the cuffs were stained with oil. Seeing Xia Xingchen walk into the shop, the middle-aged man immediately came over with a somewhat embarrassed smile on his face. "Dear guest, welcome to our shop. I'm Kong Xiu, a mecha repairman. How can I help you? Are you a mecha repairman?" Xia Xingchen looked at Kong Xiu in surprise. His hands were covered with pale yellow calluses, which were indeed the unique characteristics of mecha repairman. "That's right." Kong Xiu straightened his chest and said proudly. "Oh, I think your store is pretty good, so I bought it." Xia Xingchen walked around the store and was very satisfied with it, no matter how he looked at it. Whether it was the location or the space, it was a top choice. You bought it?" Kong Xiu was stunned and looked at Xia Xingchen in surprise. "Yes, I bought it. 100,000 star crystals." Xia Xingchen took out the title deed and put it on the counter. Kong Xiu's pupils suddenly shrank. Seeing that it was indeed the title deed of store number 13, he immediately picked up a large wrench and yelled at Xia Xingchen, "Get out! Get out right now!" If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 957, Seizing by Force. Kong Xiu was fine just now, but suddenly he started to abuse Xia Xingchen and waved a wrench, trying to drive him out of the store. With Xia Xingchen's means, it would be no problem for him to beat 100 people like Kong Xiu. However, Xia Xingchen did not do anything, but just looked at Kong Xiu coldly. That was the look of a lunatic. "Please, don't buy this store. You will regret it." Seeing that Xia Xingchen was unmoved, Kong Xiu softened all of a sudden, put down the wrench, and actually begged bitterly. Xia Xingchen was speechless for a while, and felt that Kong Xiu was a lunatic, or that this store was really haunted, and he was possessed by a ghost. At this moment, bang, someone kicked the door of the house, kicked a hole in it, and walked in. Xia Xingchen frowned slightly. According to the law, Xia Xingchen has obtained the title deed here, and is the real owner of this store. Xia Xingchen was naturally in a bad mood when someone kicked the door of his own store. When Xia Xingchen saw that the person who came was a bald fat man who weighed more than 300 pounds and looked like a meat mountain, his face became even gloomier. "Ding Fan, why are you here again? Didn't we agree on next month? I borrowed your money and I will definitely pay you back next month." Kong Xiu went to meet him. Bang. The fat man named Ding Fan was very domineering. He stretched out his hand and slapped Kong Xiu in the face, knocking out half of his teeth. Next month there will be more than 8,000 star crystals." Ding Fan laughed coldly, looking up and down in the shop. "Although this shop is not clean, but it is a shop after all, it should be worth 10,000 star crystals. Of course, although I, Ding Fan, am a loan shark, I'm not an unreasonable person. I will give you 12,000 star crystals. In addition to paying off my debt, you can still keep 4,000 star crystals in your hands, which is enough for you to go back to your hometown. This is still a bargain for you. Ding Fan, you know very well how I owe you 8,000 star crystals. You obviously know how deceptive this shop is, but you still insisted on selling it to me. All my savings of decades are in your hands, and you are still not satisfied, and you want to take back this shop at a low price?" Kong Xiu grabbed Ding Fan's sleeve tightly, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth, and his face flushed red because of anger. "Let me tell you, even if I die, I will burn this shop, to prevent you from continuing to hurt people. Good guy. Kong Xiu, you are crazy." Ding Fan was furious. "Believe it or not, I will call people over now to arrest you and take you to fill the sea. You and your people are threatening me. Everyone knows my name, Ding Fan, on this street." Xia Xingchen understood from the conversation between the two people. This man named Kong Xiu is indeed a mecha repairman. He brought his decades of savings and traveled thousands of miles to open a shop on the Azure Star. Then, Kong Xiu used his savings to buy Ding Fan's shop. Not only did he spend all his savings, but he also owed Ding Fan a lot of money. However, there is indeed a problem with shop number 13. And the problem is not small. Kang Xiu's business failed, and he couldn't pay the money. Ding Fan asked him to use the shop to pay off the debt. The shop mortgaged to the Chamber of Commerce for 100,000 star crystals, but Ding Fan was only willing to pay 12,000 star crystals. This price is really too low. Ding Fan is too cruel. As for Kang Xiu, Xia Xingchen also saw that he is a rare honest man in the world today. Kang Xiu's attitude towards Xia Xingchen just now was very bad. But there is a reason for this. Kang Xiu didn't want Xia Xingchen to fall into the trap like him. Therefore, Xia Xingchen had some good feelings towards Kang Xiu. The two people were arguing over there and were about to fight. Xia Xingchen knocked on the table and coughed. "You two, stop for a moment." Ding Fan turned his head and found that the person who was talking was a young man he had never seen before. He said viciously, "Boy, there is no place for you to talk here. Go wherever it's cool." Kang Xiu also realized at this time that Xia Xingchen had not left yet and hurriedly winked at him, asking him to leave this place of trouble. Xia Xingchen did not mean to leave, but knocked on the table again, pointing to the title deed on the counter and said, "Don't argue with the two of you. This store is mine now. If you keep arguing, get out of here together." As soon as these words came out, Kang Xiu's face changed a little. Ding Fan was even more stunned. He had been rampant on Black Friday Street for more than 10 years, and no one had ever dared to talk to him like this. And the other party was an unknown young man. Wait a minute. Title deed? Ding Fan then remembered that he had already mortgaged the store's title deed to the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce before selling it to Kang Xiu. From the beginning, Ding Fan was ready to rip off Kang Xiu. Even if Kang Xiu did not fail in running this store, it would belong to the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce in 2 months. Ding Fan's move was indeed quite vicious. From the very beginning, Kang Xiu was defrauded of all his money. Kang Xiu's face gradually turned pale, and his body could not stop shaking. Kang Xiu only now realized what a sinister trap he had fallen into. "Smelly boy. You are willing to spend 100,000 star crystals to buy the title deed of this shabby store. You are really a rare sucker." Ding Fan looked at Xia Xingchen in surprise and couldn't help but grin. "I have money, I'm willing," Xia Xingchen said lightly. "Okay, you want to open a shop, right? Pay the protection fee, 10,000 star crystals a month. Otherwise, I'll bring people to smash your shop." Ding Fan saw his face and asked for protection fee. "Oh, you can't take it by trickery, so you have to rob it by force. 10,000 star crystals a month. The rent you collect is more than Edward's," Xia Xingchen said coldly. "I'm robbing it by force. What can you do?" Ding Fan slammed the table. His face suddenly became gloomy, stared at Xia Xingchen fiercely, and shouted to the outside of the door, "Scar, come in. Hurry up, bring the brothers in." As Ding Fan shouted, several fierce, muscular, tattooed men rushed in from outside. The leader was a scarred face with a fierce light in his eyes. Scar. Seeing this group of people rushing in, Kang Xiu's face changed immediately. Kang Xiu has not been in the Central Island for a long time, less than 2 months, but he recognized that all these people were ruthless villains. Especially this man named Scar. He is the third mate of a pirate group called Hungry Vultures. Hungry Vultures is a 3-star pirate group. It is said that they have some relationship with Edward. They control Black Friday Street, loan sharks everywhere, persecute merchants, and are a well-known cancer on the Central Island. Ding Fan, what do you mean? This is a matter between the two of us. Why do you call so many outsiders? Kang Xiu gritted his teeth, stepped forward, blocked in front of Scar, and wanted to argue. "Get out." Scar didn't even look at him and kicked Kang Xiu in the chest directly, knocking him to the ground, vomiting blood, and couldn't get up for a long time. However, Scar walked in front of Xia Xingchen, lowered his head, and looked at the young man with a sneer on his face. "Aren't you rich? The protection fee is 10,000 star crystals a month, otherwise I will smash your store now." Chapter 958, 4-star thieves. Smash my store? Xia Xingchen laughed suddenly. His smile was extremely bright, and he looked up at Scar fearlessly. "How do you want to smash it? I really want to see it." Bastard. You really won't cry until you see the coffin. Scar snorted coldly. Over the years, he has done all kinds of bad things. What kind of people has he not seen? Scar could see at a glance that the young man in front of him was a newborn calf who was not afraid of tigers. He didn't know how cruel his methods were. Wait, if he saw it, he would definitely be scared, and his face would change drastically, or even cry for his parents. Brothers, bring your weapons. Smash this broken store. Ding Fan called Scar and the other gangsters over, intending to smash the store and scare Kang Xiu, an honest man, so they all carried weapons with them, hammers, steel pipes. Scar deliberately scared Xia Xingchen, picked up a big hammer beside him, and smashed it at the counter behind Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen didn't even bother to raise his hands, and smiled playfully, so you use a sledgehammer to smash it. Bang. Scar held the sledgehammer in his hand, but before it fell, his chest suddenly sunken. Then he screamed, fell backwards to the ground, spitting blood and foaming at the mouth, and fainted. Scar's strength is not weak. In the Hungry Vulture Star Pirates, he is the third in command and a Class B Mecha Master. His subordinates can be said to have killed many people, otherwise, he would not dare to do whatever he wants in the Blue Star, and no one can do anything to him. Unfortunately, Scar met Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen didn't even need to do anything, but just released a telekinetic attack, which was like a hammer, hammering towards Scar's chest. His entire sternum was shattered. A small star pirate in the chaotic starfield naturally cannot be compared with Xia Xingchen, an elite warrior who has been on the battlefield for a long time, and has seen the scene. Whether it is martial arts or mental power, Xia Xingchen crushes Scar in all aspects. Scar's injuries were very serious, and his breathing became rapid. He was about to die, but Xia Xingchen looked at Ding Fan and the gangsters behind him, as if nothing had happened, with a faint smile on his face. Ding Fan was completely stunned, and stood there, his eyes wide open, his mouth wide enough to fit a light bulb. Ding Fan still hadn't reacted to what had happened. Why did Scar suddenly fall down? And he looked seriously injured? Did he fall down by himself? But it didn't seem like it. And Scar's brothers, when they saw their boss fall down, they didn't go over to help him up. They opened their mouths wide and looked at the young man with dull eyes, as if they had seen a monster. Telekinesis. Telekinesis. Attack. Scar's men still had some knowledgeable people who saw that Xia Xingchen had just attacked Scar with telekinesis and were so scared that their voices trembled as they whispered, "Telekinetic attack. You are a Mecha Master." Ding Fan was startled, and his body could not help but tremble. He took several steps back and stared at Xia Xingchen. You actually dared to touch the people from the Hungry Vulture Pirates. You are tired of living. I was just defending myself. No matter what pirate group they are from, if they want to touch my shop, they will end up like him. Xia Xingchen pointed at Scar who was twitching on the ground, and his eyes suddenly became colder than the blade. Now, I'll give you a chance. Take him away. Don't let him die here, on my dirty floor. Ding Fan and the rest of the people knew that they were no match for Xia Xingchen. When they heard his words, they felt as if they had been pardoned. They lifted up the unconscious Scar and stumbled out the door. Before leaving, Ding Fan turned around and shouted, "Boy, you are in big trouble. Don't run away if you dare. You are going to die. This is my store. Why should I run?" It's really funny. Xia Xingchen watched the group of people leave, then turned back to the store and looked at Kang Xiu with a dazed face. "Young man, you really offended someone you shouldn't have offended." Kang Xiu was frightened. His face was pale, his lips kept shaking, and he stretched out his hand to push Xia Xingchen's shoulder. "Let's go. I advise you to leave quickly. This is my store." Xia Xingchen explained. "Which is more important, the store or your life? You hurt Scar. The Hungry Vulture will come soon. He will kill you." Seeing Xia Xingchen's indifferent look, Kang Xiu suddenly became a little anxious. "Hungry Vulture, is he strong?" Xia Xingchen smiled slightly. "There are too many people in this world who want to kill me. Too many lice don't itch, and I don't worry about one more. But, can he kill me?" Kang Xiu was speechless. "Don't you even know Hungry Vulture? He is the leader of the 3-star pirates." "That's the 3-star pirates." Xia Xingchen shrugged his shoulders. He didn't think the 3-star pirates were that strong. But from what Kong Xiu said, it seemed that the 3-star pirates were also a very strong force on the Azure Star. Don't dawdle. Anyway, you leave now. Kong Xiu pushed Xia Xingchen and insisted on pushing him out of shop number 13, which made Xia Xingchen laugh and cry. At this time, a burst of excited shouting sounded outside the shop. Big sister, is this the place? Black Friday Street, store number 13. Yes, that's it. Hahaha, tell Master Axing the good news. We have become a 4-star pirate group. Yeah, didn't you see that arrogant examiner's expression when he saw that our pirate group had 12 pieces of star-devouring armor? A bunch of guys who looked down on others. They were almost scared to death in the end. The people of the Bloody Mary Pirates were extremely excited and pushed the door to walk into store number 13. Li Huamui walked in front, and her charming face was full of joy. Since she became a pirate, she has never been so proud as today. She has a 4-star badge on her chest. She has endured countless jealous and envious eyes along the way. This kind of look made Li Huamui feel that her body was burning hot and her head was dizzy. Master Axing. As soon as she entered the room, Li Huamui saw Xia Xingchen was about to come out. She couldn't help herself and walked up to Xia Xingchen and quickly kissed her on the cheek. Xia Xingchen's face turned slightly red, and then she showed a disgusted expression and whispered, "Today is a good day, I won't bother with you. Next time, if you take advantage of me again, be careful that I will never let you go." Li Huamui's heart was chilled, and her smile quickly restrained, saying, "No, I promise I won't do it next time." Tixan was full of joy, walked up quickly, gave Xia Xingchen a tight hug, and said in a deep voice, "Master Axing, we are now a 4-star pirate group. From now on, no one will dare to look down on us. We are proud of this. Our pirate group is what it is today, all thanks to you. Haha. Let's go to the bar to party today. I'll treat you. We won't go home until we are drunk." Xia Xingchen laughed, feeling the joy of the pirates, and was also very happy. 4-star thieves. You are not an ordinary person. You are a 4-star great star pirate. Kong Xiu's face was filled with astonishment after learning of Xia Xingchen's true identity. Chapter 959 Hitting a Wall. Let's go. Today is a great day for us to be promoted to a 4-star pirate group. Let's drink. Master Axing is treating us. We won't leave until we are drunk. Haha, if Master Axing is treating us, I must drink more today and drink good wine. It doesn't matter what kind of wine you drink. With Master Axing's wealth, you can afford it, even if you drink it for a lifetime. When the pirates heard that Xia Xingchen was treating them to a drink, their eyes suddenly lit up, and they responded one after another. Master Kong Xiu, otherwise, why don't you come with us to the bar? I have something important to ask you. Xia Xingchen turned his head and looked at Kong Xiu, who looked terrified, and whispered, "The hungry vulture pirates will definitely come to take revenge, although this matter was caused by Xia Xingchen. However, the other party will not care so much. It will be dangerous for Kong Xiu to stay in the store." The reason why Xia Xingchen said this was for Kong Xiu's safety. He had a good impression of Kong Xiu. In today's world, especially in the chaotic starfield, there are not many honest people. Kong Xiu also understood Xia Xingchen's thoughts, but he couldn't help feeling uneasy about going to a bar with a group of interstellar pirates from a 4-star pirate group. After hesitating for a while, Kong Xiu finally nodded and agreed. Because Kong Xiu could see that Xia Xingchen's group of pirates was different from other vicious pirates. "Master Kong Xiu, which is the best bar around here? Please lead the way for us." Xia Xingchen nodded slightly. "The best bar?" Kong Xiu thought for a while. "It's a high-end bar called Magic Vortex. The consumption there is very high. There are so many of us. Should we go to a slightly inferior one?" "No problem." Xia Xingchen waved his hand generously. "I'm inviting my brothers to go out and play, so of course we have to go to the best place. Money is not a problem." "Okay then." Kong Xiu said nothing more and walked out of the store with Xia Xingchen, ready to lead the way to the Magic Vortex bar. Whoosh! The whistling sound of Mecha flying low in the sky was heard. "Today, no one wants to leave. With a roar, a black mecha fell from the sky and landed in front of shop number 13. Boom boom boom. A strong wind wave was lifted up, blowing people's eyes shut. Another 20 mechas landed and stopped on the road in front of the shop, blocking the road. Passers-by and hovercrafts on the road saw something was wrong and quickly detoured. No one dared to provoke this group of people. The mechas driven by this group of people have a common feature, a scollard vulture pattern painted on the chest. Hungry vulture. Kang Xiu was frightened, his legs trembled, and he sat on the ground. Boy, you are the one who injured my third officer? The leading star pirate was a bald one-eyed dragon named Vulture. He opened the cockpit, looked down at Xia Xingchen and Kang Xiu, and said viciously, "Yes, it was me." Xia Xingchen nodded and admitted it directly. "Good boy. You hurt my people. You are really impatient to live. Tell me, do you want to pay money, or do you want to be sealed in cement and sunk into the sea?" Vulture was slightly stunned. He thought Xia Xingchen would still quibble, but he didn't expect that he would admit it directly. "But it's okay, it saves trouble. I have no interest in either of these two options." Xia Xingchen touched his nose and said lightly, "Looking for death." Vulture shouted loudly and waved his hand suddenly. The little brothers behind him rushed over in mechas, wanting to trample Xia Xingchen and Kang Xiu into meat paste. "What's going on?" Li Huamui heard the commotion outside, pushed the door and walked out, and saw this scene. Suddenly, Li Huamui's pretty face suddenly became gloomy. She never thought that she was already a 4-star pirate group, and someone dared to come to her for trouble. Wow. This girl is pretty. She's got a hot body too. I didn't expect this guy to be so lucky to have such a beautiful woman around him. Boy, hand over the woman next to you. I can consider sparing your life. When the star pirates of the Hungry Vulture saw Li Huamui's charming face, exquisite and well-proportioned figure, their eyes suddenly turned into hearts, and they couldn't stop drooling. "A bunch of blind things actually set their sights on me." Li Huamui's eyes were filled with a strong chill, and her charming face turned red because of anger, making her look even more charming and attractive. "Iron Bear, bring people out, get on the mecha, and prepare for a fight." "Okay." A burly man and a group of star pirates came out of the store, facing the tall mecha group of the Hungry Vulture star pirates. They all looked defiant, and none of them were afraid. Star pirates? Vulture was slightly stunned when he saw so many people in the store, and then his eyes fell on the golden star pirate badge on Li Huamui's chest. 4-star badge. Vulture doubted his eyes a little. He rubbed them hard and looked again. The beautiful woman was wearing a 4-star badge. What the hell? Vulture was stunned and stood there. He was a little at a loss. He muttered, how could it be a 4-star star pirate group? How could it be possible? Except for the Star Pirate Overlord, there are only 5 levels of Star Pirate groups in the chaotic starfield. 5 stars are the highest, and 1 star is the lowest. Moreover, the evaluation system of the Star Pirate Guild is very strict and standardized. Even if you spend money, it is difficult to use the back door to let the Star Pirate Guild make a false rating. In other words, the star level represents absolute strength. Because there are only 5-star levels, even if there is a 1-star difference, the difference in combat power is extremely huge. At least, Vulture does not think that his 3-star star pirate group can afford to provoke a 4-star star pirate group. Vulture had a bad feeling in his heart, as if he had kicked a steel plate. While Vulture was stunned, Tixing and his group had already boarded the mecha parked behind shop number 13. 11 mechas equipped with devouring star armor were lined up in front of Xia Xingchen and Li Huamui. Hiss. The whole audience suddenly gasped, and everyone's face was filled with astonishment. Swallowing star armor? So many devouring star armor. Kang Xiu had never seen so many mechas equipped with devouring star armor before. He was immediately surprised and reached out to secretly twist his thigh. He felt like he was dreaming. This is the strength of the 4-star pirates. Vulture was also scared silly. It turned out that he still had a glimmer of luck in his heart and wanted to rely on his status as a local snake to forcefully suppress the 4-star pirates. However, when Vulture saw that the other party actually had so many devouring star armor, he realized that he had provoked a big shot that he absolutely could not provoke, not to mention his 3-star pirates. Given the opponent's strength, even the Star Pirate Overlord Edward has to give them face. Chapter 960 Blackmail. In the chaotic starfield, strength is everything. Vulture is not a fool. He knows that with his strength, provoking a 4-star bandit group is simply courting death. Misunderstanding. Dear lady, I think there are some small misunderstandings between us. Vulture wiped the cold sweat from his head and said tremblingly. Misunderstanding? Li Huami snorted coldly. What's the use of you telling me? If you really want to apologize to Master Xing. If he also thinks this is a misunderstanding, then just treat it as a misunderstanding. Li Huami glared at Vulture fiercely. Vulture felt like he was bitten by a cold and vicious beauty snake. The most poisonous woman's heart. Vulture was glad in his heart that women are very vengeful. Fortunately, the person he wanted to apologize to was not this beautiful female star bandit, but the young man who looked a little silly and seemed to be easy to talk to. Vulture had completely forgotten at this time that his subordinate Scar was beaten seriously by this easy to talk young man because of a disagreement. And the female star thief also respected the young man very much. Dear sir, I think there may be some small misunderstandings between my subordinate Scar and you. Vulture didn't have time to think so much and immediately jumped off the mecha, trying to make himself look sincere, and bowed to Xia Xingchen to apologize. I don't know that Scar at all. How can there be any misunderstandings? Xia Xingchen smiled faintly. Since there is no misunderstanding, that's great. Scar was happy in his heart. It seems that this young man is really easy to talk to. Of course there is no misunderstanding between Scar and me. After all, he is lying in the hospital now. But you, my brothers and I are going to the bar to drink and celebrate. You suddenly appeared and blocked our way, ruining our mood. How do we settle this account? Xia Xingchen's face suddenly turned cold. Vulture realized that the young man was not easy to talk to, but was waiting for him here. After all, Vulture was a space pirate who had been in the underworld for many years. His mind was working quickly, and he quickly said, I ruined your fun. It's my fault. Wait, I'll pay for all the expenses of the bar. Oh, that's not bad. Xia Xingchen raised his eyebrows and turned to Xing and others and said, brothers, today is indeed our lucky day. This little brother named Vulture is good and knows how to handle things. He will pay for all the expenses of our trip to the magic vortex. Let's go and have fun. Okay. Little brother Vulture, yeah, you're sensible. Haha, then I'm not only going to drink, but I'm also going to taste the girls of Azure Star. What do they taste like? Is it like the rumor, like this planet, made of water? Xing and other space pirates cheered. Hearing the words magic vortex, Vulture's face turned green. If it was any other bar, with so few people, they wouldn't spend too much money. Only Magic Vortex was the bar opened by Edward. Edward likes to enjoy himself the most, and he knows how to enjoy himself. The decoration inside the bar is extremely luxurious, and the overall conditions are among the best in the entire chaotic starfield. Vulture usually doesn't want to go to the Magic Vortex to play. This time, Vulture wants to invite so many people, and they can drink and play as they please, eat and drink as they please. This time, Vulture will definitely bleed a lot. He felt a wave of pain. Problems that can be solved with money are not problems. Vulture comforted himself in his heart. Spending money to avoid disasters is better than offending a 4-star pirate group with 11 pieces of star-devouring armor. I like people who know the times. Xia Xingchen had a harmless smile on his face. This matter has come to an end for the time being. Let's talk about the next thing. There is another thing. Vulture was dumbfounded. He realized that this young man was a ruthless person and would not let him go so easily. You say. Vulture said in a low voice. Your henchman, Scar, kicked the door of my shop and smashed the counter. Xia Xingchen counted on his fingers, his expression serious, and counted one by one. It's a small matter. I'll pay for it. Vulture was relieved. He thought it was something else, but it turned out to be just a door and a few pieces of furniture. I'm not asking for too much. Just pay 10,000 star crystals in total. Xia Xingchen used the skills he learned from his classmate Grandit and asked for a huge sum, trying to extort money. 10,000 star crystals? Vulture's eyes widened. A door and a few pieces of broken furniture were not even worth 10 star crystals, and this young man named Axing actually increased the price by 1,000 times, asking for 10,000 star crystals? Isn't this a clear blackmail? Vulture has always been the one who blackmailed others, and today he also tasted the taste of blackmail. That, Mr. Axing, isn't 10,000 star crystals a bit too much? Just a few pieces of furniture. Vulture hesitated, trying to negotiate terms. The door of a shop is the face of the merchant. Don't you think my face is not worth 10,000 star crystals? Xia Xingchen's face darkened again. It's worth it. Of course it's worth it. Seeing that the atmosphere, which had finally eased, became tense again, Vulture was frightened and quickly agreed. Tomorrow. No, today, I will send someone to deliver 10,000 star crystals to your house. The cost of the magic vortex will also be charged to my account. That's more like it. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly and waved his hand. Brothers, let's go. Let's go to the bar to drink. The group responded and followed Xia Xingchen, swaggering away, leaving Vulture and his group stunned in place. Boss, these 10,000 star crystals? A little brother came up and asked in a low voice. Gather them immediately and send them over. Vulture's face was pale and his mood was depressed. Vulture was obviously ready to admit defeat, and his subordinates did not dare to ask any more questions. Which bastard started this matter? Vulture suddenly asked. It's a gangster named Ding Fan, who is affiliated with our Star Pirates group. He specializes in cheating people and lending money at high interest rates. A subordinate immediately answered. Go and capture this bastard and sink him directly into the sea. Vulture had never suffered such a big loss before. He felt extremely aggrieved and took his anger out on the unlucky Ding Fan. Yes, boss. The subordinates immediately went to do it. Just as Ding Fan was thrown into the sea, gulping down seawater, and his body sank to the bottom of the sea with fish and shrimps. Kang Xiu was sitting in the luxurious box of the magic vortex, watching the dazzling beauties dancing enchantingly in front of him, drinking the starry sky wine he had never tasted before. His mind was blank. Chapter 961 Supernatural Phenomenon. Handsome guy. A tall beauty in sequined clothes sat next to Kang Xiu, holding a glass of wine in her hand and a charming smile on her face. Kang Xiu smiled awkwardly. Everyone else has a partner. How about I play with you? I'm very good at it. The heavily made up beauty licked her lips, her face full of charm. Well, forget it. Kang Xiu looked terrified and hurriedly rejected the beauty's invitation. Huh. What a boring man. The beauty felt very embarrassed, rolled her eyes at Kang Xiu, and went to find someone else with the wine glass. Huh. Kang Xiu, on the other hand, breathed a sigh of relief, with a look of relief. What's wrong? Master Kang Xiu, are the girls here not to your taste? Xia Xingchen came over with a goblet, with a faint smile on his face. Like Kang Xiu, he was not surrounded by beautiful women, alone, and seemed out of place with the ambiguous atmosphere in the private room. This is my first time in such an occasion. I'm not used to it yet. Kang Xiu blushed and said embarrassedly. Once is new, twice is familiar. Xia Xingchen laughed. What about you? Why are you alone too? Kang Xiu looked at Xia Xingchen with some confusion on his face. I'm already engaged. The beautiful figure of Princess Crossing emerged in Xia Xingchen's mind, and a warm smile suddenly appeared on his face. Before the engagement, I was an absolute interstellar playboy with many confidants. But after the engagement, I think I still have to restrain myself a little to be worthy of my future wife. This is the sense of responsibility as a husband. Since Master Kang Xiu is also a man who is not interested in women, it's just right for the two of us men to have a few drinks together. Yeah. Kang Xiu was a man who was not good at speaking. He nodded, clinked glasses with Xia Xingchen, and the two of them drank slowly. By the way, Master Kang Xiu, you said before that store number 13 was not clean. What's going on? Xia Xingchen suddenly asked. After drinking, Kang Xiu slowly opened up his mouth, his eyes reddened, and he sighed. Hey, I didn't believe in these weird things, but since I took over the shop, I haven't slept well at night. Weird, really too weird. Oh, tell me, what's so weird about it? Xia Xingchen's eyes flashed, and he was very curious. I'm not bragging, Kong Xiu, I have been learning to repair mechas with my father since I was a child, and I still have some skills. At least I'm not worse than those half-baked mecha masters on the Blue Star. But the mecha I repaired the night before will inexplicably break down the next morning. Don't you think this is weird? Kong Xiu raised his head and drank a glass of wine, and then he spoke with courage. The mecha that was repaired on the first day broke down on the second day. Xia Xingchen frowned. Could it be that someone came in overnight to destroy it? Don't you have surveillance cameras in your store? Of course. I immediately checked the surveillance video and found something even more incredible. Kong Xiu said. His face slowly began to change. Oh, what incredible thing. It's not just Xia Xingchen. Several space pirates nearby were drinking with the beauties next to them. When they heard Kong Xiu's story, they were immediately attracted. Regardless of the unhappy female companions beside them, they all leaned over and asked, You can see for yourselves. Kong Xiu took out a personal terminal. He was puzzled by what he had encountered, so he put the surveillance video on the terminal. The terminal was turned on, and a surveillance video of a store appeared on the screen. With today's technology, the image quality of the surveillance route should be extremely clear, but this surveillance route is a bit blurry, in black and white, and there are constant snowflakes, and the image is torn and distorted from time to time. Kai kai kai, dong dong dong. In addition to these strange pictures, strange sounds continued to be heard in the store, as if someone was pounding the ground hard and making heart-wrenching shouts. Wow. A woman curiously leaned over, and under the dim light of the box, she saw this weird picture and screamed in fear. Several space pirates also pursed their lips tightly, their eyes fixed on the screen. Even stranger things happened. The unmanned mecha placed in the corner of the store suddenly moved by itself. Dong dong dong. The noisy sound became louder, and the picture kept jumping. The entire store was also constantly vibrating, and the mecha parts on the shelves were all jumping. Moreover, it was not the kind of jumping up and down caused by vibration, but jumping back and forth, left and right, without any rules, as if countless hands were pulling the parts and shaking them desperately. Several beautiful women who accompanied the wine were so scared that their faces turned pale, and one even hid behind the sofa. The video ended. Several star pirates who were watching the video were slightly pale. Although they were also a little scared, they pretended to be calm in front of Xia Xingchen. I have asked many people and checked some information. This should be a supernatural phenomenon called noise spirit. Kong Xiu closed his personal terminal and said carefully, Supernatural phenomenon? Haha, there are no ghosts in this world. Xia Xingchen shook his head and disagreed with Kong Xiu's statement. I also hope there are no ghosts, but how to explain this phenomenon? Kong Xiu grabbed his hair in annoyance. Well, Xia Xingchen thought for a while, and a smile appeared on his face. Let's go. Let's go back immediately, and I'll help you catch this ghost. If I'm not mistaken, we are going to get rich again. Get rich? Kong Xiu was slightly stunned. He really didn't understand what the connection was between haunting and getting rich. The other pirates were still drinking and having fun. Their spirits had been tense for too long during the long interstellar escape, and they finally relaxed. Xia Xingchen didn't want to spoil their fun, so she left the bar with Kong Xiu and returned to shop number 13. A day on the Azure Star is 36 hours, 18 hours during the day and 18 hours at night. At this moment, it was already late at night. Shop number 13 was pitch black, without a single light. Hidden in the darkness, it was like a man-eating monster. Alcohol makes cowards brave. Usually, Kong Xiu didn't dare to go to shop number 13 alone at night. Today, Kong Xiu drank some wine, and Xia Xingchen accompanied him. He took out the key and opened the door of the shop. The room was dark. Kong Xiu turned on the light and was stunned when he saw the scene in the shop. There were not many furniture in the shop, iron counters, shelves, and a few chairs. Now, all the furniture was turned upside down, with the big head facing down, as if someone had deliberately played a prank. Under the light, Kong Xiu's face turned pale green. Dong, dong, dong. At this time, a strange knocking sound came from somewhere, as if knocking on people's hearts. Chapter 962 You and Magnetic Turtle. Let's leave this place quickly. Faced with a strange situation in the store, Kang Xiu was so scared that his face turned blue, his legs became weak, and he wanted to turn around and run. You wait at the door. I'll go in alone. Xia Xingchen was not afraid, but a hint of joy appeared on his face. He thought to himself, I seem to have guessed it right. Can't my luck really be so good? Then you be careful. Kang Xiu really couldn't muster up the courage to go into the store with Xia Xingchen, so he could only wait at the door. Xia Xingchen walked into the messy store alone, without a trace of fear on his face. Kang Xiu usually doesn't smoke, but he was too scared. Standing at the door of the store, he still felt a stream of cold air rushing over from behind. He smoked 3 cigarettes in a row, and Xia Xingchen pushed the door and walked out of the store. Master Crossing, who is it? Kang Xiu asked hurriedly. It's too late today, let's talk about it tomorrow. Xia Xingchen waved her hand. Meet in the store at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. By the way, please help me go to the nearby management office. I need the underground pipeline map here. Okay. Kang Xiu wanted to leave this hellish place immediately. He said goodbye to Xia Xingchen and returned to his residence. He lay on the bed and couldn't fall asleep. As soon as he closed his eyes, Kang Xiu would see extremely terrifying pictures, which scared him so much that he didn't even dare to turn off the lights. After a sleepless night, Kang Xiu's eyes were red. In the morning, he went to the management office and got the underground pipeline map of shop number 13 in the name of shop renovation. However, Kang Xiu racked his brains and couldn't figure out why this young man named Axing wanted this map. What was he up to? At 9 o'clock, Kang Xiu arrived at shop number 13 on time. The door of the shop was already open. Xia Xingchen was sitting in the shop, and he was surrounded by a group of star pirates. Each of these pirates was full of energy, bragging about how brave they were last night and how they displayed their manliness. Xia Xingchen listened with a smile, pursed his lips, and remained silent. When he saw Kang Xiu walk into the store, he stood up and greeted him. Master Kang Xiu, have you got the underground pipeline map? I got it. Kang Xiu handed the map in his hand to Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen unfolded the map, put it on the counter, and looked at it carefully for a while. A strong smile appeared on his face. He pinched his fingers, snapped his fingers, and said excitedly, I knew it, it was true. Master Crossing. What's going on? Is there a ghost in shop number 13? You are almost driving me crazy. Tixin scratched his head. Although he was so big, he was actually most afraid of ghosts. If shop number 13 was really haunted, Tixin really didn't dare to stay in this place. I've said it many times. There are no ghosts in the world. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly, confident. You saw all the strange things in that store with your own eyes. Kang Xiu shook his head. His view is completely opposite to Xia Xingchen's. There are too many mysteries in the universe, many of which are beyond human understanding. Ghosts and gods may be just one of them. It's magnetism. Xia Xingchen took out an ancient compass, and the needle on it was spinning frantically. I have already explored it. The magnetic fluctuations near this store are abnormal. The culprit for these strange things is magnetism. Magnetism? Is there magnetite underground? Impossible. The islands of the Blue Star are all artificial floating islands. There are only hard iron sheets and pipes underground, and there can't be mineral veins. Yes. If it's not magnetite, where does the magnetism come from? There is no power supply equipment such as large transformers nearby. The pirates speculated one after another, with suspicion on their faces. Not necessarily, only mineral veins and large power supply equipment can generate magnetism. Xia Xingchen smiled faintly. The universe is so vast that there are all kinds of wonders. Just like electric eels can generate high voltage electricity, some rare creatures can generate magnetism. Master Axing. Are you talking about the magnetic turtle? Kang Xiu shook his head. Yes, the magnetic turtle can indeed generate strong magnetism. However, the magnetic turtle lives on several border planets in the Penglay starfield of the Galactic Empire, and their numbers are very rare. No community of magnetic turtles has ever been found on the Blue Star. There are naturally no wild magnetic turtles on the Blue Star. However, the Blue Star is a port planet, and there will always be magnetic turtles sold from the Penglay starfield to this place. Xia Xingchen explained. This is not impossible. But, Master Crossing, you should know how terrifying an adult magnetic turtle is. Kang Xiu still shook his head. Seeing that most of the pirates were bewildered, he explained, the magnetism of a young magnetic turtle is not strong, and it is not harmful. But an adult magnetic turtle is extremely terrifying, and has the terrible ability to control magnetism. Control magnetism? A pirate was stunned for a moment. How strong is its magnetism? Is it stronger than the power of a mecha? Yes. An adult magnetic turtle can control the powerful force of more than 100 mechas at the same time. Only a mecha master who controls the magnetic power can use it to offset the magnetism and fight against the magnetic turtle. Other mecha masters, even S-level mecha masters, are helpless in the face of the magnetic turtle. Kang Xiu knew the habits and strength of the magnetic turtle very well. Hiss. The whole audience suddenly gasped. A mecha master with magnetic abilities? There are probably 10 of them in the entire galactic empire. I've heard that there's a combat hero in the north, whose name seems to be Popovich. He's a mecha master with magnetic abilities. But, he's very old, and has been in retirement for many years. I don't believe it. Even if it's a large hunting team with hundreds of mechas, can't they catch an adult magnetic turtle? Kang Xiu shook his head and said, it can't be caught. The reason why an adult magnetic turtle is difficult to capture is that in addition to its terrifying strength, it is also extremely fast. So far, humans have not discovered any creature that is faster than a magnetic turtle in the water. Turtle? Very fast? Everyone felt that their worldview had been overturned. The reason why the magnetic turtle is so fast is that it can control magnetism. Have you heard of something called an underwater magnetic thruster? Kang Xiu said. I've heard of it. I've heard of it. A pirate immediately said, my mecha is amphibious. In addition to the blow light thrusters for flying, it is also equipped with underwater magnetic thrusters. The effect is very good. The underwater magnetic thrusters used in the mecha are the inspiration that the mecha designers got from the magnetic turtle. In fact, a long time ago, humans have been conducting research on magnetic acceleration, and this technology has developed to a very mature level. The earliest magnetic fluid thrusters were used in submarines. Kang Xiu explained, this type of thruster does not require mechanical equipment such as propellers. It can travel at extremely high speeds in almost absolute silence. This is impossible for any mechanical thruster to achieve. In other words, once an adult magnetic turtle enters the water, it will be impossible to capture it, let alone track it. Chapter 963 Out of Control. Next, Kang Xiu explained the working principle of this underwater magnetic propulsion device. Xia Xingchen listened with great interest, feeling like he was back in college, but the star pirates found these boring theoretical knowledge boring, and couldn't help yawning. To sum up, I don't think anyone can catch an adult UN magnetic turtle. Not to mention transporting it all the way from Penglay Star to Azure Star. Even if there is a 1 in 10,000 chance, how could this UN magnetic turtle hide obediently under shop number 13 and not move? Kang Xiu ended his long speech and expressed his opinion. It's very simple. Xia Xingchen said, although adult UN magnetic turtles cannot be easily captured, young UN magnetic turtles can be easily caught. Is there a possibility that a young UN magnetic turtle escaped from the dock, or because of some other coincidence, entered the underground pipeline of the central island, and grew up slowly? Kang Xiu was stunned. He had never thought of this possibility. But after Xia Xingchen's reminder, he thought about it seriously, and realized that this was indeed possible. However, Xia Xingchen's idea was too wild. Kang Xiu was extremely shocked. Although it was wild, it was possible. This was a necessary trait for a successful mecha designer. The reason why Kang Xiu could not become a mecha designer, and could only be a maintenance technician, was because his thinking was rigid, and he lacked such wild and creative ideas. I just looked at the underground pipeline map. Under shop number 13 is a sewage tank that is 10 meters long and 20 meters wide. The diameter of the sewage pipe is only 3 meters. In other words, if a young yuan sea turtle passes through the pipe and reaches the sewage tank and survives, then it will soon grow to 10 meters in size and cannot get out. Xia Xingchen continued, as its body grows larger and larger, the sewage tank cannot accommodate it. It can only keep wailing and ramming its body into the pipe. The abnormal phenomenon in shop number 13 was caused by it. As for whether it is, we will know after we dig up the pipe. Xia Xingchen looked at the map, walked around the shop, and finally drew a black cross at the position under the counter, asking Ticheng to lead people to dig down from here and dig up the pipe. Ticheng immediately ordered 4 strong space pirates to take tools and start digging down according to the position Xia Xingchen said. After lifting the 2-meter thick steel plate, there was a layer of cement cast stone slab underneath. Under the 5-meter thick stone slabs, there are crisscrossing sewage pipes, as well as electricity, gas, and energy pipes, like the blood vessels of the island, layered and stacked, making people's scalps numb. Under these pipes is a huge cement sewage tank. The surface of the sewage tank has been cracked, covered with cracks in all directions, like a spider web. It seems that something is hitting the sewage tank from the inside. It's true. Xia Xingchen smiled and guessed it almost right. Master Axing. What a brilliant plan. Yes. He can even calculate this? Awesome. Too awesome. The pirates saw that the sewage tank was about to be destroyed by the things inside, and they were all convinced. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the sewage tank suddenly vibrated violently. The cracks on the cement surface became larger and larger, and black and smelly sewage gushed out from it. No. This beast heard the sound and woke up. It's desperately hitting the sewage tank. Kang Xiu was horrified and shouted to the space pirates below, "Come up. Come up quickly. Danger." Boom. A big hole was knocked open in the sewage tank, and a body covered with green hair appeared. The space pirates were terrified, and hurriedly returned to the store along the original route. The moment they climbed out of the hole, the sewage tank burst with a bang, and a huge figure appeared in the sewage. Boom boom boom. This huge figure shook its clumsy body, and the nearby pipes were broken. After struggling for several months, it finally broke free from the narrow cage. Shop number 13 turned into a stinking pond, with stinky sewage bubbling out of the hole, and the floor was also raised to a height of 3 meters. A huge body appeared in the store. This is a huge turtle-shaped creature. 15 meters long, 10 meters wide, and 3 meters high. It carries a heavy tortoise shell on its back. Even in the sewage tank, the tortoise shell is as bright as new, without any trace of dirt. It is covered with strange patterns and flashes with bronze light. This is the Yuan-Si tortoise shell, the most desired divine object for magnetic type psychics. If you use this tortoise shell to build a mecha, the strength of magnetic type psychics can be increased 100 times. Kang Xiu's eyes glowed. Because the number of Yuan-Si turtles is rare, it is very difficult to capture. The price of Yuan-Si tortoise shells is exaggerated to the point of abnormality. If it is a complete Yuan-Si tortoise shell, it can be easily auctioned at a sky-high price of more than 1 million star crystals at a large auction. Under the shiny Yuan-Si tortoise shell, there is a huge monster covered with green hair and emitting a foul smell. Its head is also covered with a layer of black stains, and its mouth is full of fine and sharp teeth, which is extremely hideous. This mountain-like monster grew up in the sewers, ate human leftovers, lived in a narrow sewer, and was filled with resentment towards humans. Boom, boom, boom. The 4 sturdy legs moved, and the mountain-like body rushed towards the crowd. Beast. Li Huamui laughed coldly in the death match, and behind her were 8 space pirates driving mechas and waiting in formation. In order to deal with the crisis, Li Huamui had already prepared and had already deployed people. Go. Li Huamui gave an order, and the 9 mechas were ready to rush forward. Beep, beep. However, at this time, the alarm device inside the mech started to beep wildly, and all the instrument pointers also started to spin wildly at this time. All the mechas had abnormalities at the same time, and could not move. Magnetism. This terrifying adult Yuan-Si turtle used the magnetic field to control all the mechas present. If it wanted, it could even use the terrible magnetic force to crush the mech in front of it into powder. Even Li Huamui, she used all her strength, but the mecha could not move at all. Li Huamui's death mecha is a star skeleton beast armor, equipped with a lot of alien beast materials, such as her death scythe is made of bone. However, although the star skeleton beast armor uses alien beast materials, the mecha skeleton is made of steel. Facing an adult magnetic turtle, any steel products are useless. Seeing the magnetic turtle rushing over, Li Huamui and others are like targets. If they are hit by it, they will be disabled if not dead. Reckless. Too reckless. I reminded you long ago that adult magnetic turtles are not easy to deal with. Kang Xiu was shocked, but he had no way out. Bang. At this critical moment, a huge dragon-shaped figure stood in front of the death mecha, raised his right fist, and punched the magnetic turtle hard on the head. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 964, Magnetic Polion. Boom. The Azure Dragon Mecha punched the head of the magnetic turtle. The terrifying power of the fist after the enhanced paint added to it knocked the mountain-like magnetic turtle sideways. So hard. Xia Xingchen looked at the hand armor of the Azure Dragon Mecha in surprise, which had been slightly deformed. However, the star-devouring armor is known for its repairability. The deformed hand armor began to wriggle, as if it had life, repairing the damaged parts. Why? Why can his mecha move under the strong magnetic field of the magnetic turtle? Kang Xiu looked at the Azure Dragon Mecha that moved freely, and his whole face was full of astonishment. With Kang Xiu's eyesight, he couldn't tell which manufacturer's mecha series this cool and handsome dragon-shaped mecha came from. The only thing Kang Xiu could be sure of was that the performance of this dragon-shaped mecha was extremely terrifying. Saved. Li Huamui and others suddenly felt that the mecha had regained its ability to move. Get out of the way. Let me do it. Xia Xingchen ordered. Yes, sir. Li Huamui and other pirates did not dare to neglect it, and immediately stepped aside, leaving the venue to Xia Xingchen and the huge magnetic turtle. It's really a coincidence that the skeleton of my Azure Dragon Mecha is made of Azure Dragon sacred wood. In addition to the star-devouring armor and the divine weapon system, there are no miscellaneous metal equipment on the mecha. Therefore, it will not be affected by magnetism at all. It is the nemesis of this magnetic turtle. Xia Xingchen smiled slightly, and a huge black drill began to condense in the right hand of the Azure Dragon Mecha. The magnetic turtle is indeed very powerful. Relying on its magnetic power, ordinary S-level mecha masters are not its opponents. In addition, it uses magnetism as a propulsion power in the water, and its speed is ridiculously fast. Even if a legendary mecha master takes action personally, he may not be able to capture it. However, such a powerful magnetic turtle is restrained by the Azure Dragon Mecha. Xia Xingchen's eyes are burning, and he has heard of the value of the magnetic turtle. I didn't expect that such a treasure would be hidden under shop number 13. This time, I really made a fortune. Boom. After struggling for a while, the UN magnetic turtle finally turned over. The small eyes on its ugly head flashed scarlet light, staring at Xia Xingchen fiercely. AWW. The UN magnetic turtle opened its mouth and let out a shrill roar. The piercing and soul-stirring sound made everyone present tremble with fear. Whoosh. The huge body of the UN magnetic turtle actually floated up out of thin air, soared into the air, and pounced towards Xia Xingchen, countless times faster than before. Magnetic levitation. The UN magnetic turtle exerted its ability to control magnetic force to the fullest. Xia Xingchen also felt the pressure of suffocation, and a chill spread over his bones. However, he did not retreat, but roared and took a step forward. Boom. The huge black spiral rushed towards the floating UN magnetic turtle with unparalleled power. Swish. A blue-black light flashed. The next moment, the Azure Dragon Mecha was already behind the Yuan Sea turtle, and the black drill was still spinning madly, with pieces of meat twisted into silk on it. The Yuan Sea turtle's shell was intact, but a bloody hole was drilled in its body by the drill. Boom. The Yuan Sea turtle fell into the sewage, ending its dirty and miserable life. Hiss. A sound of people sucking in cold air rang out inside shop 13. Another move. Even a strong Yuan Sea turtle couldn't withstand the shocking blow of the black drill. How powerful is this move? This mecha, this weapon, I have never heard of it, I have never seen it before. Kang Xiu's heart was filled with shock, and he could not contain any emotion. Master Axing. Too strong. In front of the magnetic turtle, we are like newborn babies, with no room for resistance. However, Such a terrifying monster can't withstand Master Xing's attack. Even Edward and Blackbird, these powerful people in the chaotic starfield, should be helpless against this magnetic turtle. The star pirates all looked at Xia Xingchen with admiration and talked about it. Xia Xingchen jumped off the King Lang mecha and said with a smile, "I'm not that strong, I'm just lucky. The frame of my King Lang mecha is made of wood and is immune to magnetism. Moreover, the magnetic turtle is an animal after all, and its IQ is not high. If it is an S-level mecha master who controls the magnetic power, I may not be his opponent. Magnetic power is an extremely powerful power. The superpower can not only use the magnetic field to restrict the actions of the enemy mecha master, but also use magnetism to control metal to attack. For example, Popovich's Magneto Mecha. The weapon is a pair of alloy magnetic double rings, which are accelerated by electromagnetic force, and have extremely amazing destructive power. The Yuan-Si turtle only knows how to use magnetism, but not how to use it to attack. This is the gap between talent and IQ. Human physical talent is not the highest in the universe. However, with its own wisdom, it can sweep across the starry sea and become the overlord of the galaxy. However, the price I paid is also quite heavy. Xia Xingchen looked at the sewage overflowing and stinking in shop number 13 and shook his head with a wry smile. Kang Xiu drove a small engineering mecha and dived down from the hole where the sewage came out. He used superb technology to fix the broken sewage tank again. The broken pipe was also quickly welded up. On the other side, Xia Xingchen asked Tichen to help cut the Yuan-Si turtle shell from the body of the Yuan-Si turtle. In fact, the Yuan-Si turtle is full of treasures. Not only the Yuan-Si turtle shell, but also the meat of the Yuan-Si turtle is very delicious. After being cooked by a chef, it can be made into a delicious delicacy. However, this Yuan-Si turtle grew up in the sewer and exuded a stench all over its body. No one would be willing to eat its meat. Tai Xiang brought several space pirates and used a large electric saw to cut the body of the Yuan-Si turtle, preparing to take it outside and throw it directly into the sea. Ding. Tai Xiang wore a gas mask on his face and held an electric saw in his hand. He cut it hard. Suddenly, sparks flew. The electric saw cut a hard object and the sharp blade broke. What is that? Tai Xiang was stunned, stretched out his hand, and touched a hard metal object from the corpse. This metal obviously has a strong magnetic force, which tightly sucked the electric saw. The powerful Tai Xiang couldn't pull it off. Huh. Xia Xingchen exclaimed, walked up, touched the metal object, and showed surprise on his face. What is this? Dogs have dog treasures, cows have bizarres. Do turtles also have turtle treasures? This. Kang Xiu had already repaired the pipeline and climbed out of the sewage pit. Hearing the surprise here, he hurried over. After seeing the metal object, he was stunned for a moment and then shouted in surprise, Yuan-Si Jijian. It's really Yuan-Si Jijian. Chapter 965 Sea Monster. Magnetic Polan. Xia Xingchen frowned and searched for the name in his memory, but found nothing. You are not from Penglai Star region, so it is not surprising that you have never heard of the name of Magnetic Polan, because there are too few Magnetic Polan. Kang Xiu explained, Magnetic Polan is a treasure that is even rarer than the magnetic turtle shell. The magnetic turtle shell is rare simply because adult magnetic turtles are difficult to capture. However, there are also some people who catch young magnetic turtles, put them in a rubber pool, and raise them to adulthood, and they can also obtain magnetic turtle shells. However, among 10,000 magnetic turtles, one may have magnetic polan in its body, which is truly rare. What is the use of magnetic polan? Xia Xingchen was slightly surprised. The universe is so big that there are many rare treasures that he has never heard of. The reason why this magnetic turtle is so powerful is because it has magnetic polan in its body. Magnetic polan is the source of the magnetic turtle's power. It is also the raw material for making the supermagnetic thruster. Kang Xiu said. Supermagnetic thruster? Xia Xingchen looked puzzled. That's right. Supermagnetic thruster. This is an extremely fast underwater thruster for mechas. The technology has been around for hundreds of years and is fully mature. However, because the material is magnetic polan, it is too rare. So it has never been promoted. It is only circulated in a small area of Penglay Star region. Kang Xiu explained. This thruster is fast and noiseless. Underwater sonar can't detect it at all. The most important thing is that this thruster can be regarded as an independent system. It can run without using the engine power of the mecha, which is very energy saving. Supermagnetic thruster. There is actually such technology. Xia Xingchen was excited. The Qinglang mecha has not yet been equipped with any propulsion device. The thruster in the air must be made of the dragon wings of the sky dragon. It is just right to install the supermagnetic thruster as an underwater thruster first. The Qinglang mecha can run underwater and come in handy on the Azure Star. Master Kang Xiu, do you know the design method of the supermagnetic thruster? Xia Xingchen asked. Of course. Kang Xiu was a little hesitant. I can provide you with the drawings. But I have a condition. Please tell me. Xia Xingchen nodded. If it's money, you can name your price. I don't want money. Kang Xiu said. I hope you can take me in and keep me in your shop as a mecha repairman. You can name your salary and provide me with food and accommodation. What's the salary? Xia Xingchen was slightly stunned. From the way Kang Xiu repaired the pipe just now, Kang Xiu was a qualified mecha repairman. Not to mention on the Azure Star, even in the entire Chaos Star region, he is a very rare talent. Why did he say that the salary was whatever he wanted, just to stay in his own shop and be a repairman? I just want to fight for my pride. Tell those people that I, Kang Xiu, am not a waste who can't repair anything. I'm a mecha repairman from the Penglay Star region. My skills are not trendy at all. Kang Xiu took a breath and said in a deep voice, I see. Xia Xingchen understood. Kang Xiu came to the Azure Star with the dream of panning for gold. At that time, Kang Xiu was still very confident. Of course, with his skills, he was indeed qualified to be confident. However, Kang Xiu's luck was too bad. He was deceived by Ding Fan and bought shop number 13. Because of the strong magnetic force of the Yuan Sea turtle under the shop, all the mecha instruments that Kang Xiu had repaired were destroyed again. Once, twice, 3 times. Kang Xiu couldn't repair any mecha. Naturally, he was insulted by many customers, and his reputation was completely stinking. People fight for a breath, and Buddhas fight for a stick of incense. Kang Xiu is a stubborn person. Wherever he fell, he would get up from there. Now that the Yuan Sea turtle has been killed, and the curse of shop number 13 has been broken, Kang Xiu is eager to prove himself. Even if it means helping Xia Xingchen, he is willing. Master Kang Xiu, you are a talent. Thank you for thinking highly of me and being willing to join my shop. I will certainly not treat you unfairly. Xia Xingchen thought for a moment and said seriously, a fixed salary of 1000 star crystals a month. I will also give you commissions for the mechas you repair and the parts you sell. What do you think? 1000 star crystals a month. Kang Xiu took a breath of cold air with an expression of disbelief on his face. There are hundreds of mecha shops on the central island. Some have good business and make a fortune every day. Some have bad business and have been losing money. However, no mecha shop offers a salary of 1000 star crystals a month to mecha repairman. Even if he goes to earn commissions for repairs, Kang Xiu only needs to work in Xia Xingchen's shop for a few years, and he can make back the money he lost and make a comeback. What's more, Kang Xiu is very confident in his skills. If the business of shop number 13 is good, Kang Xiu can soon accumulate a considerable fortune just by earning commissions. Thank you. Kang Xiu thanked him quickly. Haha, with Master Kang Xiu's help, I can relax a little bit. Xia Xingchen smiled. Xia Xingchen opened a mecha shop on the Azure Star. On the one hand, the situation was pressing, and he had to open a shop to protect himself. On the other hand, Xia Xingchen also wanted to make money to buy the parts and materials needed for the Azure Dragon mecha. However, opening a shop was just a stopgap measure. Xia Xingchen couldn't be content with being a small shop owner on the Azure Star. There were still many things waiting for Xia Xingchen to do. Moreover, Xia Xingchen had to think of ways to improve his mental power level as soon as possible. He didn't have much time. At this moment, the body of the UN magnetic turtle had been cut up and put in a huge black plastic bag. Tai Xiang led the star pirates and threw these plastic bags directly into the sea. Swish! The dirty blood of the UN magnetic turtle spread all over the nearby sea surface. Many sharks smelled the blood and swam over to devour the meat. Because of the magnetic force in its body, the meat of the yuan sea turtle is unique and tastes very attractive. Suddenly, the sea surface was covered with shark fins, and there were hundreds of them. In order to compete for the meat, the sharks actually killed each other, which was very crazy. Passers-by also stopped to watch, with surprise on their faces. At this time, the sea suddenly seemed to be boiling, and it rolled violently. A 100-meter-long black tentacle appeared, rolled up a shark, and crushed it into meat paste. Ah! Sea monster. The sea monster appeared. Everyone run away. Passers-by were all scared and screamed, panicking and running away. More than a dozen 100-meter-long black tentacles appeared on the sea surface, rolled up these sharks, and dragged them into the deep water. A stream of blood mist emerged, dyeing the sea area blood red. Sea monster? Xia Xingchen looked down and saw a huge black shadow under the sea. This black shadow covered the nearby sea surface, and it was so big that you couldn't see the end at a glance. It was a behemoth several kilometers long. Chapter 966. Kill them all. Sea monster? There are such horrible monsters hidden in the Sea of Azure. Xia Xingchen looked at the black shadow in the sea water and couldn't help showing a surprised expression on his face. After thinking about it, it was normal, and Xia Xingchen's face calmed down. 99% of the surface of Azure is ocean. There are countless creatures living in the ocean, especially in the deep trenches on the seabed. There are endless secrets lurking. Although human technology has developed to conquer the Sea of Stars, however, the understanding of the planet itself is not so thorough. For example, watch star. Under the endless sea of sand, there are huge sandworms lurking. Even the army of the Galactic Empire has no way to deal with these terrifying giant creatures. The sea monster of Azure is also very famous in the nearby starfield. Someone has seen the corpse of the sea monster, which is several thousand meters long. It is a huge creature similar to an octopus, with huge tentacles on its body, and the tentacles are very flexible. Occasionally, it will stir up waves on the sea surface and attack ships. Tixan looked at the black shadow in the sea with interest, and said in a low voice, "Will they attack ships?" Xia Xingchen was slightly startled. Not to mention attacking ships, these sea monsters will even attack floating islands when they go crazy. But don't worry, most of the time, they are sleeping in the deep sea trenches and rarely wake up. According to legend, the Azure once had an advanced civilization, and these sea monsters were the guardians of civilization. Ha, such a distant thing, who knows? Tai Xiang laughed. The Azure also has civilization. Xia Xingchen looked at the end of the ocean, and his mind was full of thoughts. Judging from the position of the Azure in the starry sky, there are indeed conditions for the emergence of civilization. However, even if there is civilization on this planet, covered by seawater, it must be a deep sea civilization, which is completely different from human civilization. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this time, a whistling sound came from the sky, and a 24-man Mecha patrol team flew over. The Mecha patrol team flew over the sea where the sea monster appeared, and saw the huge black shadow in the deep sea. They were very nervous and quickly contacted the Jackdaw Star pirates stationed on the Azure. The 1,000-meter-long sea monster was extremely powerful. Even a legendary Mecha master might not be its opponent in the water. If the sea monster went crazy, it could even turn the floating island upside down. Fortunately, the sea monster had eaten up a whole group of sharks. At this moment, it was full and too lazy to fight with humans. It lazily lurked under the water and continued to sleep. The Mecha patrol team breathed a sigh of relief and circled in the air for a few more times to observe that the sea monster had indeed returned to the deep sea and then flew towards the South Island. The crisis was resolved, and Xia Xingchen was thoughtful. It took a full 3 days for shop number 13 to finally be cleaned up, decorated, and officially opened for business. On the first day of opening, there was no customer. Pete from the Star Pirates Chamber of Commerce came over and told Xia Xingchen that the star devouring armor had been sold for a total of 500,000 star crystals. After deducting the 100,000 star crystals for purchasing the deed to shop number 13, there were still 400,000 star crystals left, which he put in a star card and handed to Xia Xingchen. The opening of a new store is where the money is needed. These 400,000 star crystals solved Xia Xingchen's urgent need. Moreover, I don't know whether Pete intentionally or unintentionally leaked the origin of the devouring star armor. Some mecha masters came to Xia Xingchen to order the devouring star armor. Xia Xingchen spent most of his time every day practicing the sky skill he got from the old orc. However, making the devouring star armor does not take up any of Xia Xingchen's time. So, he accepted all the orders for the customized devouring star armor, and as long as the materials were in place, they would be immediately sent to Jia for production. For ordinary mecha designers, it takes 3 months to make the devouring star armor. It is purely handmade, and the quality varies. However, Xia Xingchen's production cycle for the devouring star armor is 1 week, and the devouring star armor he made is of high quality, much faster and better than others. After 2 months, Xia Xingchen used the devouring star armor to accumulate a large number of old customers, and the reputation of the number 13 store was also spread, and the business in the store gradually improved. Kang Xiu is indeed a skilled mecha repairman. Customers are full of praise for the mechas he repaired. Some customers even began to ask Kang Xiu to repair the mechas. He got what he wanted and proved himself. The location of shop number 13 is relatively superior. In addition, the Bloody Mary Star Pirates are now a 4-star Star Pirate group, sitting in the shop, and ordinary scoundrels dare not harass them. Business is naturally getting better and better. The turnover of shop number 13 continued to soar. In the 3rd month, it ranked among the top 10 of all similar shops in the entire Azure Star. At this time, those big shops with high rankings all felt threatened. Several big shop owners agreed to discuss countermeasures together, to deal with shop number 13 together. In the luxurious private room, the shop owners were talking to each other, discussing insidious and cunning strategies, and how to use tricks on shop number 13. At this time, an uninvited guest broke in. Haha, let me introduce myself. I'm Morris, the leader of the Deep Sea Demon Star Pirates. Morris broke into the private room and said with a smile, while looking at these fat merchants. Deep Sea Demon? What Star Pirates? I've never heard of it. Morris. Who allowed you to come in? Get out. These shop owners are all well-known figures on the Azure Star, and they all have their own forces behind them. They don't take Morris's 3-star pirates seriously at all. Morris was not angry, but smiled sinisterly. I'm an unknown person, and it doesn't matter if the bosses don't know me. But if you just drive me out like this, Lord Kajik will definitely be unhappy. Kakik? Mechanical Overlord Kajik? The big star pirate of the 5-star pirates. You were sent by Kajik? You should have said it earlier. When the shop owners heard Kajik's name, they were all shocked, and their faces improved. The Mechanical Overlord Star Pirates, the 5-star pirates, can stabilize the existence of the 7-star pirate overlords. Kajik's name is also well known in the Azure Star, and his popularity is much higher than Morris. The shop owners all have some friendship with Kajik, and even those with a shallow friendship, dare not give Kajik face. Bosses, I heard that you are going to deal with shop number 13. It just so happens that boss Kajik and I have some minor conflicts with the owner of shop number 13. However, we have been unable to take action because of Edward's interference. This time is a good opportunity. Let's join forces to wipe out shop number 13. What do you think? Morris smiled sinisterly and stated his intention. Chapter 967 Diving into the Deep Sea. The 5-star pirates are willing to help. The shop owners were all delighted when they heard this. What's your plan? One shop owner asked. It's very simple. You pay the money, and we provide the manpower. Morris smiled and said, you find a way to cut off the supply of goods to shop number 13. Force these cowards to leave the central island. Boss Kajik and I will naturally send people to intercept and kill them. Cut off the supply of goods to shop number 13. That's too easy. When the shop owners heard this, they all nodded and agreed with Morris's statement. Okay, let's make it a deal. Morris picked up a glass of wine on the table, raised his head, and drank it all, and left the private room. The shop owners discussed it and immediately put pressure on shop number 13 through the Pirates Chamber of Commerce to cut off Xia Xingchen's supply channels. Shop number 13. The innermost room is Xia Xingchen's mecha workshop. Under normal circumstances, he would design mechas, make mental power coatings, or practice skyscraper kung fu to improve his mental power level in the mecha workshop. Xia Xingchen is a person who values personal privacy. No one is allowed to enter this place without his permission. This includes Kang Xiu, Li Huamei, and Ticheng. These 3 people are also very sensible and have never disturbed Xia Xingchen. However, today, Xia Xingchen is in the mecha workshop, transmitting the supermagnetic propulsion device drawings in the magnetic polearm brought by Kang Xiu to the Star Domain Arc, asking Jia to make the supermagnetic propulsion device. Ring, ring, ring. Someone pressed the transmitter at the door, and more than once, very impatient. Xia Xingchen's eyes twitched a few times, and he put away the space-time beacon, and then opened the door, only to see Kang Xiu and Li Huamei standing at the door, looking anxious. What's wrong? What happened? Xia Xingchen invited the 2 into the room, and pulled a chair to sit down. There are not many mecha parts left in the store. I went to the Chamber of Commerce to purchase today, but they didn't sell them to me. Kang Xiu looked angry. There is no factory on the Azure Star, so it is normal to be out of stock. Xia Xingchen waved his hand, thinking it was a trivial matter. It's not out of stock, they just don't sell it to us on purpose. Kang Xiu said angrily. Master Kang Xiu is right. I heard some rumors that all the large shops on the Azure Star have united and are preparing to target our store number 13. The first step is to cut off our supply. A good cook cannot cook without rice. No matter how good our technology is and how good our reputation is, we can't repair it without parts. Li Huamei said hurriedly. Is there such a thing? Xia Xingchen frowned tightly. Sure enough, business is not easy to do. In addition to taking care of the needs of customers, we must also beware of the squeeze of peers. I'll ask Pete. Xia Xingchen immediately found Pete through the communicator. Boss Axing, this is all ordered by the top. I can't do anything. I still have a batch of parts here, but the price is a little higher. Otherwise, you can take it first for emergency. Pete was very helpless. He was just a small employee at the bottom and couldn't change any problems at all. When Xia Xingchen asked about the price of this batch of parts was not only more expensive, but more than 10 times more expensive than before. Xia Xingchen had long seen that Peter was not honest and had a very active mind. When Peter saw that store number 13 was in crisis, he immediately took advantage of the situation and wanted to make a fortune. After turning off the communicator, Xia Xingchen's face darkened. After a long while, he sneered and said, depriving someone of their wealth is like killing their parents. I didn't intend to do anything to you small bosses. I wanted to leave you a way out so that we can all get rich together. I didn't expect you would be so shameless that you would bully me. Boss, don't just say nice things. What should we do next? Kang Xiu said anxiously. In fact, the solution is very simple. Behind every shop, there is a pirate group acting as a caravan to prevent this kind of vicious competition. These shop owners can control the Azure Star Chamber of Commerce. We only need to purchase goods from other planets. Li Huamei said, purchasing from the place of origin, the price is lower and our profit is higher. Moreover, my Bloody Mary pirates now have the strength to carry out long distance trade. No. Xia Xingchen flatly refused. Why? Li Huamei was surprised. Because Blackbird's bounty order. The Bloody Mary pirates are no longer a secret on the Azure Star. We have been living in peace for the past few months because of Edward's protection. Once you leave the Azure Star, the pirate groups hidden in the nearby starfields will jump out together and attack you. Although Bloody Mary has several mechas equipped with devouring star armor, its overall strength is still very weak. Xia Xingchen analyzed. Then what do you say we should do? Li Huamei suddenly became depressed and had no idea. Well, leave this matter to me. Xia Xingchen thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, store number 13 is temporarily closed. Everyone stays in the store and no one can go out. Kang Xiu and Li Huamei were a little confused by Xia Xingchen's decision. Hiding like a turtle would not solve any problems at all. However, seeing Xia Xingchen's confident smile on his face, they didn't say anything more. According to Xia Xingchen's arrangement, store number 13 was temporarily closed. In the mecha workshop, Xia Xingchen took out the time and space beacon and contacted Jia. Swish. The supermagnetic thruster has been made and transmitted over. Xia Xingchen couldn't suppress his excitement. He didn't even use the mechanical auxiliary arm. He directly used telekinesis to install the supermagnetic thruster behind the waist of the Qinglang mecha. The supermagnetic thruster is in the shape of two spheres connected to a metal belt. It is not conspicuous at all when equipped on the mecha. Try the power of this thruster. Xia Xingchen jumped onto the Qinglang mecha excitedly and pressed a red button. The floor quietly opened up, revealing the azure sea water below. Xia Xingchen had already opened a secret passage here. Plop. The Qinglang mech jumped into the sea water. After diving to a depth of 300 meters, the instrument index on the Qinglang mech was normal, which surprised Xia Xingchen. The water pressure is very terrifying. The diving depth of ordinary mechas is between 200 and 300 meters, and the diving mech can dive to about 5,000 meters. The special deep diving mech for scientific research can even dive into the trench at a depth of 20,000 to 30,000 meters. This depth is enough to explore the bottom of the ocean of more than 99% of the planets. Xia Xingchen found that the instrument index of the Qinglang mech was somewhat similar to that of the deep diving mech. Could it be that the skeleton strength of the Qinglang sacred tree can withstand the huge water pressure of more than 10,000 meters? An amazing idea popped up in Xia Xingchen's mind. Chapter 968 Salvage of the Sunken Ship. Keep diving. Test the limits of the Azure Dragon mecha. Xia Xingchen couldn't hide his excitement. At the same time, Xia Xingchen also turned on the supermagnetic thruster that he had just made. Whoosh. The speed of the Azure Dragon mecha suddenly increased, and it dived towards the deep sea. What a fast speed. Xia Xingchen was surprised. Looking at the dashboard, the speed of the Azure Dragon mecha in the water was actually close to the speed of sound. Unlike in the air, the resistance of water is very large. The speed in the water can be close to the speed of sound, which is already very amazing. What shocked Xia Xingchen even more was that when the supermagnetic thruster was running, it was completely silent, without even a sound or vibration. Unlike a turbine engine, a long string of white bubbles would appear behind the mecha. Under the action of the supermagnetic thruster, the Azure Dragon mecha was like an erratic phantom, speeding towards the deep sea. In the water above 100 meters, you can still see all kinds of fish everywhere, and the sunlight shines through the clear sea surface, which is very beautiful. Below 100 meters, the sunlight cannot penetrate, and it is getting darker and darker. Below, there is a deep and endless darkness, hiding the unknown and fear. The Qinglang mecha dived to a depth of 2,000 meters, and it was completely dark all around. Xia Xingchen did not turn on the searchlight. After all, at such a deep seabed, the searchlight can only illuminate a short distance. Xia Xingchen expanded his spiritual sense and used it as his eyes. A hologram appeared in his mind, which was clearer than what the eyes could see. Xia Xingchen's current mental power level can extend his spiritual sense to a distance of 1,000 meters in the seawater. Don't underestimate this distance. It has exceeded many special devices, and it is enough for Xia Xingchen to deal with emergencies. Keep diving. Xia Xingchen controlled the Qinglang mecha to continue diving into the deep sea. Since the Qinglang mecha is equipped with a nuclear fusion engine, not the Heart of Thunder recorded on the drawings, it consumes a lot of energy, and the energy is only enough to maintain the Qinglang mecha for 3 to 5 hours of operation. The supermagnetic thruster uses the magnetic force provided by the primordial magnetic pole ion, so it does not need to consume engine energy. The Azure Dragon mech only needs to ensure the operation of the life support system, and its energy consumption is extremely low. In a non-combat state, the action time is extended to more than 40 hours. 5,000 meters, 8,000 meters, 10,000 meters. The Azure Dragon mech quickly dived and finally reached the bottom of the sea at a depth of 12,000 meters. The ocean of the Azure Star is much deeper than that of ordinary planets, and humans have not yet been able to fully explore it. There are peaks and canyons on the seabed, which are full of unpredictable dangers. The reason why Xia Xingchen dived into such a deep seabed, in addition to testing the deep diving limit of the Azure Dragon Mech, is that there is another important purpose: salvaging sunken ships. The ocean storms on the Azure Star are extremely terrifying. Every year, there are unlucky spaceships that encounter storms, or are attacked by sea monsters when landing on the Azure Star and sink to the bottom of the sea. Among the spaceships, the most are cargo ships. The cargo on them is a variety of commodities shipped from other starfields, including rare metals, mech parts, and star beast materials. This is a batch of inestimable treasures. Because the cost of salvaging is too high, they lie quietly on the seabed and no one cares. Xia Xingchen's goal was to find the cargo ship that sank on the bottom of the Sea of Azure Star. Swish! The Azure Dragon Mecha moved rapidly on the seabed. Xia Xingchen concentrated his mental power to detect the nearby seabed and look for traces of the sunken ship. 3 hours later, the Azure Dragon Mecha had already moved away from the central island and arrived at an unknown sea area. Ahead was a huge trench that was bottomless. The Azure Dragon Mecha had just approached the trench. Boom. More than a dozen huge black tentacles hundreds of meters long stretched out from the edge of the trench. An extremely large sea monster, thousands of meters long, slowly crawled out of the trench. Hiss. Xia Xingchen took a breath of cold air and quickly stopped the mecha, not daring to get any closer. What made Xia Xingchen even more stunned was that 10 huge sea monsters crawled out of the trench one after another, slowly crawling along the trench, like patrolling guards. This sea monster is so big, it's a holy beast. Each sea monster is equivalent to a legendary mecha master. Even a well-organized fleet may not be able to defeat these 10 huge monsters. Xia Xingchen was horrified and didn't dare to get close to the trench. He immediately changed direction. Not far away, Xia Xingchen's eyes suddenly lit up. Not far ahead, a medium-sized spaceship sank to the bottom of the sea. The hull was covered with deep-sea corals, colorful. Due to the threat of the sea monster nearby, no creatures were found in the sunken ship. Xia Xingchen drove the Qinglang Mecha, tore open the rotten deck with his palm, and entered the cargo hold of the spacecraft. In the passage, there were several corpses wearing crew uniforms, which had completely rotted and turned into white skeletons. From their twisted postures before death, you can still experience the panic of death. The cargo hold was filled with long and large stainless steel containers with the logo of Tang Dynasty Group on them. Xia Xingchen was delighted and walked forward and opened the container. Inside were brand new mecha parts. Since the container was sealed intact, the parts were not corroded by the seawater. Big profit. Xia Xingchen couldn't help showing an excited smile on his face. Xia Xingchen opened a few more containers. In addition to the mecha parts, the remaining containers were all alloys for making mecha parts, which were as much as 200 tons. With these alloys, Xia Xingchen can use Xia to make a large number of high quality and low cost mecha parts. Humph. You are unkind. Don't blame me for being unjust. Xia Xingchen smiled coldly. He already had a plan in his mind. Using Xia and these alloys, Xia Xingchen was enough to squeeze all the shops on the central island. Xia Xingchen took out the time and space beacon and transmitted all the goods on the sunken ship to the Star Domain Arc. After completing all this, he was excited and prepared to return. However, when the Qinglang Mecha floated to a depth of 3,000 meters, Xia Xingchen suddenly detected more than a dozen strange mechas nearby. How can there be so many mechas here? Xia Xingchen was slightly startled, and an ominous premonition emerged in his heart, fearing that the visitor was not kind. Sure enough, a harsh voice came through the public channel. Master Axing, we are really enemies. I didn't expect that we could meet by chance in this place. Morris? Xia Xingchen immediately recognized that the voice was the voice of Morris, the leader of the Deep Sea Demon Star Pirate Group. In front, Morris was driving a mecha that was covered with scales. Except for the limbs, there were 6 steel mechanical arms floating behind him like octopus tentacles. What an ugly mecha. Xia Xingchen frowned slightly. He had never seen such an ugly and disgusting mecha. It shows that Morris is twisted in his heart and has such a bad taste. Xia Xingchen would not believe even a single punctuation mark in Morris' words. This was certainly not a coincidence. It was a long-planned attack. Chapter 969 Desperate Pursuit. Why can Morris find me? Xia Xingchen frowned tightly. The entire planet of Azure Star is covered by the ocean, and Xia Xingchen's location is far away from the 3 floating islands. Logically speaking, it is like looking for a needle in a haystack to find him. But Morris led people to ambush, obviously knowing Xia Xingchen's specific location. Xia Xingchen looked down at the energy meter of the Qinglang Mecha. After the previous consumption, the energy was less than 30% at this time. If the energy is sufficient, I can still fight with Morris and his gang. But now, Xia Xingchen was unwilling. I can only run. Without any hesitation, Xia Xingchen didn't even say a word to Morris, and the Qinglang Mecha quickly dived. Want to run? Can you run? Morris showed a sneer on his face, and didn't rush to catch up with Xia Xingchen. What kind of mecha is this? Why is it so fast underwater? Morris looked at the back of the Qinglang Mecha, and was extremely shocked. Morris's star pirate group is called Deep Sea Demon. As the name suggests, they are good at operating and fighting in water. However, no mecha division in a pirate group that is good at underwater combat can match Xia Xingchen's speed. Even if Morris wanted to chase him, he couldn't. Fortunately, Boss Kajik arranged a traitor to install a tracker in this kid's clothes. Otherwise, I really can't do anything with this kid. Morris felt lucky and immediately used the tracking device to determine Xia Xingchen's specific location. Diving to a depth of 7,000 meters and changing direction, Xia Xingchen, who was moving rapidly towards the south, suddenly stopped. Caught up, Xia Xingchen's consciousness clearly felt that there was an ambush of mechas not far ahead, and there were also mechas chasing behind. Obviously, Morris knew his position, and ordered his men to surround him. Is there a tracker? Xia Xingchen's eyes were stern, and thinking of this possibility, he immediately scanned the cockpit with his consciousness. There was no response from the tracker in the cockpit, but Xia Xingchen found a button-shaped signal generator at his cuffs. Really? Xia Xingchen immediately crushed the signal generator. His face was very ugly. The tracker was installed on his clothes, which meant that there was a traitor in shop number 13. Someone was bribed by Morris. The flames of anger burned in Xia Xingchen's eyes. He hated being betrayed the most. Moreover, this person was someone he trusted. However, now was not the time to consider who the traitor was. The most urgent thing was that Xia Xingchen had to escape from Morris' ambush. Don't run away. You can't escape. Morris shouted loudly through the public channel. Xia Xingchen did not answer. He scanned with his spiritual sense and found that the 2 mechas in the ambush in front were holding a large transparent net. This net was very huge, a kilometer wide and more than 10 kilometers long. It was used to capture large marine life and block Xia Xingchen's way. On the seabed without light, it was made of transparent material. If Xia Xingchen hadn't used his spiritual sense to detect it, it would have been impossible to see it. Not only in front, but also on the left, right and back, there were 3 large transparent nets that blocked Xia Xingchen's way. Morris came prepared this time, and he must catch Xia Xingchen. There is only above and below. Above, Morris drove the mecha floating in the sea water, looking down at Xia Xingchen with a playful face. You can only dive. Xia Xingchen gritted his teeth, and the Qinglang Mecha actually sank towards the bottom of the sea. Soon, the Qinglang Mecha reached the bottom of the sea at a depth of 12,000 meters. Above, Morris and others were still chasing after it. Captain, is this kid's mecha a deep diving type? It can actually dive below 10,000 meters? Too scary. Fortunately, our name is Deep Sea Demon, and our mechas are good at operating in the deep sea, and we are well prepared. If it were any other pirate group, they would definitely be left behind by this kid. 10,000 meters. Too deep. My mecha is already creaking. Captain, we can't dive any deeper. Morris's men were all complaining at this moment. Even the deep sea mechas of the Deep Sea Demon Star Pirates were about to be overwhelmed by the water pressure at a depth of 10,000 meters. Hold on. Morris yelled, and he was also stunned. We have reached the bottom of the sea. This kid is too weird. We must not let him escape. Otherwise, there will be endless troubles. These guys are still chasing. Xia Xingchen looked at the energy meter that was almost at the bottom, and gritted his teeth. Boom. A huge tentacle stretched out from the bottom of the sea, stirring the sea water, and a series of vortices appeared. Unknowingly, they were near the trench again, and the sea monster was still patrolling slowly. In the sense of divine consciousness, Morris's group of pursuers were getting closer and closer, and they were about to catch up. Xia Xingchen made up his mind. There is no other way, we can only fight. Whoosh. The speed of the Qinglang mecha suddenly increased, and it actually rushed towards the direction of the trench. He's crazy. He dared to approach the Hell Abyss. The Hell Abyss is full of sea monsters. It's a forbidden area for humans. Even legendary mecha masters dare not approach it. He is really crazy. Mosley and others saw Xia Xingchen's crazy behavior, and their faces changed drastically. They dared not continue to chase him. Boom. Although the sea monster is huge, its perception ability is not weak. It immediately found that the Qinglang mecha rushed towards the trench. More than a dozen huge tentacles were raised and lashed heavily. In the cockpit, Xia Xingchen turned on the enhanced skills to the limit and used overclocking. There was a blank look in his eyes. Xia Xingchen brought the technology of driving mecha to the extreme. The Qinglang mecha is like a flexible dragon, which is extremely dangerous, but can dodge the attack of the tentacles in a very clever way. Boom boom boom. The tentacles hit the rocks on the seabed, and the earth shook, and the mud and sand rolled, covering the figure of the Qinglang mecha. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Azure Dragon mecha passed through the blockade of the sea monsters, entered the trench, and began to dive rapidly. The reaction of these sea monsters was still relatively slow. When they turned around, the Azure Dragon mecha had already reached the depths of the trench. With their huge bodies, they could not catch up, even if they wanted to. He escaped. Morris was angry and helpless as he watched the Azure Dragon mecha disappear into the trench. Captain, should we chase him? A star pirate asked. What the hell? Did you see those sea monsters? Any one of them can tear all of us to pieces. That guy's mecha control has reached the level of perfection, so he can escape. Which one of you can? Morris was furious. Captain, what should we do? The star pirate asked in a low voice. It's a pity that we didn't capture this guy alive. It is said that he is a master of mecha maintenance. If we catch him, we can sell him for a lot of money. However, he broke into the abyss of hell and there is no way he can come out alive. Let's blockade this sea area first and guard it for 3 days just in case. If he hasn't come out by then, it means he is really dead at the bottom of the sea. Then we will catch the bitchly Hu armory and ask Blackbird for the reward. Morris touched his chin and told his plan. Chapter 970 Lost Civilization. Azure Star. The Hell Abyss Trench. This is a forbidden area for humans. For billions of years, there has never been any human footprint. Humans claim to be the overlords of the galaxy. Their footprints have traveled all over the galaxy. Wherever the starships go, wherever the artillery roars, it is all human territory. However, humans do not know what secrets are hidden on the planets they occupy 15,000 meters deep in the sea. The Qinglang mecha continues to dive. There are countless huge sea monsters hidden in the depths of the trench. They are hideous and terrifying. Seeing the Qinglang mecha is like seeing a delicious food. They stretch out their tentacles or open their mouths to swallow the Qinglang mecha. The Qinglang mecha relies on the high speed brought by the supermagnetic thruster to avoid these attacks 20,000 meters. The Qinglang mecha finally began to be unable to withstand the water pressure and began to make a creaking sound. How deep is this trench? Is it really leading to hell? Xia Xingchen was amazed and was about to stop and make plans. Suddenly, a huge whirlpool appeared below. Xia Xingchen's face changed drastically. He had not expected that there would be a whirlpool in such a deep trench. Xia Xingchen stepped on the power pedal desperately, but the Qinglang mecha had no power to fight against the whirlpool and was pulled down in an instant. The world was spinning. Xia Xingchen felt that his body was almost torn apart and his stomach was churning as if he was jumping through the stars. Boom. The Qinglang mecha fell heavily on the ground, smashing a huge deep pit. The outer devouring star armor was severely damaged and slowly repaired itself over time. After an unknown amount of time, Xia Xingchen finally woke up. Here, Xia Xingchen jumped up with a start and found that he was no longer in the sea, but in a huge city. The streets were clean and tidy, paved with transparent crystals and flashing with strange brilliance. There were many beautiful buildings with exquisite shapes around, and the materials were also crystals, as if he had come to a dreamland. Did I just travel through time and space? Xia Xingchen was stunned, and when he looked up, he saw the endless deep sea water above him. But the sea water seemed to be blocked by an invisible barrier and could not fall down. I didn't travel through time and space. This is the bottom of the Hell Abyss Trench, and it's actually an alien city. This invisible barrier can actually withstand the huge pressure of 20,000 meters deep. This technology is much more advanced than humans. Xia Xingchen sighed in his heart. There are aliens with advanced technology living on the bottom of the Azure Star, but humans have never discovered it. Xia Xingchen felt a little incredible and turned to look at the city. It was clean, tidy and beautiful. Some buildings still had lights, which obviously meant that there were people living there. However, there was no one on the street. It was too clean. Xia Xingchen was suspicious and walked to a building with lights and knocked on the door. Knock knock knock. The knocking sound echoed in the silent city. No one answered. Xia Xingchen found that the door was not locked and pushed it open. The furniture in the house, including corals, shells, and pearls, was gorgeous and beautiful, full of alien style. However, there was no figure. On the ceiling, the lights were on. There was no wire connection. It was not electricity, and Xia Xingchen could not tell what energy it was. Walking into the bedroom, Xia Xingchen's pupils suddenly shrank. On the crystal bed, there lay a skeleton. The upper body was human bones, but the lower body was a fishtail. Mermaids? Xia Xingchen was puzzled. He had seen mermaids in the slave market on the Black Tower Star. The beautiful mermaid was still flirting with Xia Xingchen in the big fish tank, wanting him to buy her. According to Xia Xingchen's understanding of the mermaids, this race is not very intelligent, and there is no decent civilization. They still live in primitive society, except that the women are more beautiful and can satisfy some special fetishes of humans. There is nothing worth paying attention to, but the technological level of this city is very high, even surpassing that of humans. Is this the city of mermaids, or is the mermaid corpse on the bed a pet raised by a technologically advanced alien race? Xia Xingchen thought to himself, and walked into the house next door. There were also corpses in the house, with human bodies and fishtails. This corpse was obviously a man, with a tall body, twice the size of a female mermaid. Xia Xingchen changed 5 rooms in a row, and only found the corpses of the mermaids. It is indeed the city of the mermaids. Xia Xingchen frowned. The mermaids obviously have technology that surpasses humans, and have a brilliant and advanced civilization. Why are they captured by humans, and sold as wild animals? And this city is also strange. All the residents are dead, but the lights are still on. The machines are still running. What is providing energy? How long has it been providing it? The more Xia Xingchen thought about it, the more shocked he was. Judging from the corpses, the residents have been dead for a long time. The vibrations from the Qinglang Mechas broke the corpses and turned them into dust. It has been at least tens of thousands of years. What kind of energy can provide energy for a city for tens of thousands of years and has not been exhausted yet? Xia Xingchen couldn't think of it. Human energy is still nuclear fusion. Although Ling Zhoxing and Tang Dynasty Group are both researching dark matter annihilation engines, they are still in the laboratory stage. Even if it is a dark matter annihilation engine, it may not be able to provide energy for a city for tens of thousands of years. Xia Xingchen drove the Qinglang Mecha and walked slowly on the street, thinking constantly in his heart. Bang, bang, bang. Heavy footsteps came from the end of the street. Someone. There are still living residents. Xia Xingchen was delighted, raised his head, and his face changed suddenly. At the end of the street, there stood a row of steel giants holding tridents. These giants were about 15 meters tall, taller than the Qinglang Mecha, and were burly. They were lined up in a square formation, and walked towards Xia Xingchen step by step. They were not mermaids, but robots. Intruders, die. The steel giants shouted in unison, and rushed over without asking any questions. They are the guardians of this city, Xia Xingchen exclaimed. Some technologically advanced and highly intelligent civilizations use robots to guard the city. Even if the civilization is extinct, the robots are still loyally guarding until the day when the energy is exhausted. It's very similar to Carlos. However, Carlos is very intelligent. He is already an independent life individual. These robots are very low in intelligence and can only act according to the program. Looking at these steel giants, Xia Xingchen felt a little strange. The idol of each race is himself. The robots made by humans are very similar to humans. The robots made by the mermaids should also have human bodies and fishtails. However, these guardians are like humans, with 2 legs in the lower body. The mermaids knew about the existence of humans 10,000 years ago, and regarded humans as their guardian gods. Xia Xingchen quickly came to a conclusion. The ancient humans were celestial beings, and their influence was so great that all the races in the Milky Way were affected. The mermaids were one of them. Intruder. Die. The language of the steel giants was also human language. They shouted loudly, holding tridents, and rushed to the front of the King Long Mecha. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 971 Zioka Evolution. Bang, bang, bang. The ground was shaking violently as the footsteps of the steel giant fell. Oops. Xia Xingchen looked down at the energy meter. The star-devouring armor had just repaired itself, and it had already exhausted all its energy, not even a bit left. Without energy, the mecha was just a pile of immobile scrap metal. A steel giant holding a trident stabbed fiercely. Xia Xingchen knew clearly that there was no energy, but he stepped on the power pedal reflexively, and at the same time, pushed the joystick in his hand hard. Boom. Although the energy was completely exhausted, the King Long Mecha actually stepped forward, clenched his right fist, and hit the steel giant's jaw with a hook. With a bang, the steel giant's head was shattered, sparks flew, and parts were scattered all over the ground. Bang. The steel giant, who lost his head, fell heavily to the ground with a roar. What? Xia Xingchen was surprised. The energy meter was obviously empty, so why could the King Long Mecha still move? And it was full of power, even more powerful than when the energy was full. Could it be rampage? A terrifying thought emerged in Xia Xingchen's mind. The so-called rampage is a special state in which the mecha completely loses power and overdraws the mecha master's mental power to maintain action for a short period of time. In the rampage state, the mecha consumes not energy, but the mecha master's mental power. However, even the legendary mecha master does not have enough mental power to maintain the mecha's rampage state. The final result of every mecha master who triggers the rampage state is that the brain is overloaded, the brain cells collapse, and the 7 orifices bleed to death, without exception. Xia Xingchen quickly closed his eyes and felt his own mental power ocean. The mental power ocean was still vast, and there was no sign of a significant loss of mental power. It's not rampage. Xia Xingchen breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time he was more confused. When all energy was exhausted, what energy supported the King Long Mecha to move? Kill. Before Xia Xingchen could think, the other steel giants had rushed over, roaring loudly, waving tridents in both hands, and surrounded and killed crazily. With the support of unknown energy, the Azure Dragon Mech was able to exert its full performance for the first time. Strength, speed, reaction. All performance was 5 times the original. Even without using telekinesis to condense the spiral drill, these steel giants were no match for the Azure Dragon Mech. Kill, kill, kill. After all, there were too many steel giants. The Azure Dragon Mech destroyed 6 giants in a row, and was stabbed in the back by the trident. Poof. 3 holes appeared in the star-devouring armor on the back, revealing the turquoise-green Azure Dragon divine tree that looked like a crystal. But the next moment, the damaged part of the star-devouring armor healed directly. This self-healing ability is too terrifying. Xia Xingchen looked at the dashboard and saw that the damage went from 24% to 0% in the blink of an eye. He couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. The star-devouring armor has 2 self-healing modes. One is to heal itself underwater immersion. This healing method consumes very little energy, but it takes a long time. The other is to consume a lot of energy and heal quickly. This method, Xia Xingchen didn't dare to use before. The Dragon Core V nuclear fusion engine is already the most advanced engine in human history, but the King Long Mecha requires too much energy, and the energy provided by the engine is not enough to maintain the normal operation of the King Long Mecha. For a long time, the Kinglang mecha has been in a energy saving mode and can only play 10% to 20% of its original performance. Until now, Xia Xingchen has personally experienced the power of the Kinglang mecha. The strength of these steel giants is also considered strong. Each one is similar to a B-level mecha master. However, they are not Xia Xingchen's opponents at all. However, they are fearless. No matter how powerful the opponent is, they are not afraid of death and rush up, just like moths to a flame. These robots seem to be looking for death. Isn't their intelligence a bit too low? Xia Xingchen frowned slightly, feeling something wrong. According to the technology of the fish people, the robots produced cannot have such a low IQ. A protracted battle. All the steel giants were shattered and fell to the ground. Xia Xingchen then let out a long sigh and rested temporarily. The energy of the mecha is almost endless, but Xia Xingchen's mental strength is a bit exhausted, and he needs to rest temporarily to recover his mental strength. Meow meow meow. At some point, Xia slipped out again and squatted on Xia Xingchen's shoulder, his eyes shining and extremely excited. Xia, go back quickly. It's dangerous here. Xia Xingchen scolded with a worried look on his face. Meow meow. Xia not only didn't listen, but also jumped on the operating table and pressed the button to open the cockpit with his little paws. Xia movements were very flexible. He jumped out of the mecha in an instant and came to the wreckage of the steel giant. Xia, come back soon. Xia Xingchen hurriedly chased after him and tried to catch Xia with both hands. Xia jumped to the head of the steel giant and with his little paws, he found a shiny chip from the broken parts and swallowed it in one gulp. Xia, why are you eating so much? Xia Xingchen was stunned, looking at Xia in surprise, and scolded in a low voice. Although Xia looks like a little kitten, he is actually an artificial intelligence, a silicon-based life like Carlos. Xia Xingchen also tried to feed it food, but Xia simply refused to eat. Even if he ate it for Xia Xingchen's sake, he would spit it out in the blink of an eye. To be honest, Xia Xingchen was always afraid that Xia would starve to death because of not eating. However, after Xia ate the chip, he actually showed a satisfied expression and burped comfortably. You want to eat these chips? Xia Xingchen looked at the cute little kitten in surprise. Meow meow. Xia nodded repeatedly. Then, okay. Xia Xingchen hesitated for a while and finally agreed. Xia is actually very smart and it will definitely not eat anything randomly. Xia Xingchen helped Xia find this kind of chip from the broken giant's head and gave it all to Xia. Xia ate more than a dozen chips in a row and then sat comfortably on the ground, squinting his eyes, looking finally satisfied. Meow meow. Xia is full. Xia stroked his beard with his paw and said suddenly, it's good when you're full. Xia Xingchen smiled and reacted quickly. He looked at Xia in surprise and said in a trembling voice, you spoke just now? Meow. After eating these language chips, Xia finally evolved a language unit and can speak. Xia rolled his eyes at Xia Xingchen and said resentfully, the master is a big fool. He never understood what Xia meant and didn't let Xia eat enough. Meow. Xia is finally full for once. Faced with the little kitten's childish complaints, Xia Xingchen was not angry at all. Instead, he was full of joy. He picked it up excitedly and held it in his arms, rubbing his cheek against Xia soft and smooth fur. Xia, you are so cute. Chapter 972 Heart of Thunder. Deep in the trench. In the city of the fishmen, Xia Xingchen sat in the wreckage of a pile of steel giants, closed his eyes and rested. His depleted mental power was gradually recovering. The black cat Xia was wandering around, jumped onto the roof, and looked around. Xia, don't run around. Be careful of danger. Xia Xingchen said hurriedly. Meow meow. Master, don't worry. I know more about this city than you do. Xia called twice. There are some written records in the language chip I just ate. I already know everything that happened in this city. What? You know everything? Tell me quickly. Xia Xingchen's face lit up when he heard Xiaoka's words. The Azure Star is the home of the fishmen. They call this planet Atlantis. The fishmen are an amphibian race with a brilliant civilization and more advanced technology than humans now. Although humans have mastered nuclear fusion energy, the energy provided by nuclear fusion is not unlimited, and it may also cause great pollution. The fishmen have mastered a nearly eternal energy source, the Heart of Thunder. Xia jumped down from the roof and said slowly, "Heart of Thunder." Xia Xingchen jumped up suddenly, his face full of astonishment. According to the drawings that Xia deduced from the Azure Dragon statue, the engine of the Azure Dragon mecha is the Heart of Thunder. The nuclear fusion engine is just a stopgap measure and cannot provide enough energy to fully exert the performance of the Azure Dragon mecha. The energy mastered by the fishman is also called Heart of Thunder? Is this a coincidence? Xia Xingchen was puzzled. The Heart of Thunder is not a technology developed by the fishmen themselves. It was given to them by ancient humans. Xia explained, from the records of the fishmen, although the ancient humans behaved a little overbearing and liked to occupy planets. However, they were kind on the whole, and they were willing to help backward races. Not only the fishmen and the orcs, but many races in the Milky Way have received the favor of ancient humans. I understand. Xia Xingchen nodded. Genes determine everything. There is no difference between the genes of humans and ancient humans. He can imagine that ancient humans are a race similar to today's humans. But, it's not a good thing that the ancient humans help these backward and weak races. Xia shook his head slowly. The fishman did not have the ability to control the powerful force of the Thunder Heart. After the ancient humans suddenly disappeared, one day, the Thunder Heart went out of control and exploded violently, and the entire planet suffered a catastrophe. The continent sank, floods raged, and the splendid civilization of the fishmen was destroyed overnight. Some of the fishmen took spaceships to other planets and multiplied. However, they did not revive their civilization, but fell behind, and even forgot that their ancestors had a splendid civilization. Xia Xingchen frowned and shook his head slowly. The universe is cruel. If a race does not evolve, it will degenerate, lose civilization, and eventually become a beast. The experience of the fishmen is not uncommon in the universe. In the era of human exploration of the universe, large-scale generation spaceships set off from the Earth and flew to every corner of the universe, looking for planets suitable for human habitation and reproduction and expansion. Not all generation spaceships are lucky. Thousands of years later, one of the human races grew stronger and more technologically advanced, establishing colonies in several star regions. The government also sent out an expedition team to follow the flight paths of the previous generations of spacecraft to find the whereabouts of these spacecraft. The results of the exploration shocked the entire human race. On a planet, the humans there completely forgot about technology and lived a life of working from sunrise to sunset every day. There was no electricity, and the lighting was candles made of oil. The king lived in a tall castle and led his knights to constantly wage wars against neighboring countries. This planet is simply a replica of the Middle Ages on Earth. On another planet, humans have degenerated into beasts with sharp claws and teeth, strong limbs, and even lost their ability to speak. They eat raw meat and drink blood and live in caves. Only the high priest of the tribe knows a little human language, so that the expedition team knows what happened. The fishmen, who have a splendid civilization, failed in their migration plan after the destruction of their main star Atlantis. Civilization is like weeds, extremely strong, but extremely fragile. Xia Xingchen sighed in his heart. Because this city has the Heart of Thunder, it activated the protective device and was not destroyed. However, the residents could not bear the despair and died one after another, and it eventually became a dead city. Xia introduced the history of this fishman city. Heart of Thunder. The reason why this city still has energy is because of the Heart of Thunder. The Azure Dragon Mech is still able to move when the energy is exhausted, because the Heart of Thunder is providing energy. Xia Xingchen's eyes lit up. After such a long time, the Heart of Thunder can still provide energy. This technology has surpassed humans by who knows how many eras. Find the Heart of Thunder and load it on the Azure Dragon Mech. We should be able to leave this underwater cage. Xia Xingchen clenched his fists tightly and finally found a way to escape. Xia, where is the Heart of Thunder? Take me there. Xia Xingchen's eyes were bright and his heart was full of hope. Master, there are powerful guardians near the Heart of Thunder. It's very dangerous. Xia said hesitantly. It's dangerous. No matter how dangerous it is, I must try. I don't want to be like these fishmen, driven crazy by despair in the sea, and eventually turned into a corpse. Xia Xingchen understood that he had no way out now, and he had to move forward. I must survive. There is hope only if I survive. Princess Crossing is still waiting for me. I can't die in this place. Xia Xingchen returned to the mecha and looked up at the dark and endless sea water above his head. Only by finding the Heart of Thunder can we leave this place. Okay. Xiaoka thought about it, returned to the cockpit, jumped onto Xia Xingchen's shoulder, and pointed his cat's claws at a tower in the distance. The Heart of Thunder is at the top of the tower. Xia Xingchen looked up, and sure enough, there was a strong light emanating from the top of the tower, like a bright star, and the light it emitted enveloped the entire underwater city. That's it. Let's go. Xia Xingchen drove the Qinglang mecha, took big steps, and walked towards the direction of the tower. On the street, there were more and more corpses, and some strange weapons were scattered beside them. These corpses did not die of natural causes. Their bones were broken, and their limbs were incomplete. They had gone through a brutal fight before they died. Under the tower was a huge circular square, covering tens of thousands of square meters. The ground was paved with white jade, and was filled with piles of bones. Xia Xingchen's eyes twitched a few times. Tens of thousands of residents in the entire city died in this square. This was a veritable sheriff field. Chapter 973 Sweet Death. Intruder. In the center of the white jade square, a huge bronze statue that was 100 meters tall suddenly looked down at Xia Xingchen and murmured, his voice like thunder. The bronze statue was very huge, and the upper body was a muscular naked old man. His hair was white, his beard was curly, and he held a huge trident in his hand. He looked very much like Poseidon, the god of the sea in human mythology. The lower body of the bronze statue was just a huge octopus, with more than a dozen tentacles supporting the body. At this moment, the huge bronze statue, 100 meters tall, looked down at Xia Xingchen. Alien, you dared to break into the holy city with the intention of stealing the Heart of Thunder. Unfortunately, you are too weak. Xia Xingchen was slightly startled. This bronze statue was obviously also a robot with intelligence. From the way he spoke, he was different from those steel giants who only knew how to shout and kill. His intelligence was higher, and perhaps there was a possibility of communication. Who are you? Xia Xingchen tried to communicate. Why are there so many corpses in the square? I'm the guardian of the Thunder Heart. They are all greedy people who intend to steal the Thunder Heart. I destroyed them all. This happened a long time ago. The 100-meter high statue replied in a deep voice. You killed them all. Xia Xingchen felt a chill in his heart. You tiny alien. You will die too. The bronze statue shouted loudly. Wow. The octopus tentacles moved quickly and arrived in front of the Qinglang mecha in a blink of an eye. The huge figure enveloped it like a mountain. The huge trident swept across, sweeping towards the Qinglang mecha with a fierce wind sound. The bronze statue was not only huge, but also extremely fast. Xia Xingchen was shocked to find that he could not avoid this simple attack. Squeak. The right arm of the Qinglang mecha suddenly condensed a huge black drill and fought hard with the trident. Bang. The moment the black drill hit the trident, it shattered with a bang. The Azure Dragon mecha was also smashed and flew out, flying 100 meters away, hitting a building, and its body was deeply embedded in the wall. In the cockpit, Xia Xingchen was suppressed by the powerful force and bleeding from all 7 orifices. Blood was slowly flowing down his forehead, and he looked very miserable. The weapon condensed by my telekinesis is broken. Xia Xingchen was shocked. His drill had always been indestructible, but this time it was broken. How could it be possible? The strong shock made Xia Xingchen's head dizzy, and his ears could no longer hear any sound, only a disturbing buzzing sound. The devouring star armor on the outside of the Azure Dragon mecha became tattered and riddled with holes because of the previous blow. On the high tower, under the almost unlimited energy of the Heart of Thunder, the devouring star armor recovered at an incredible speed, and soon at least it looked like there was no damage on the surface. Terrible. So terrible. Xia Xingchen looked up at the huge bronze statue that was 100 meters high and felt a chill in his heart. Just now, Xia Xingchen clearly felt death. This feeling was also deeply felt by Xia Xingchen in the battle with the light angel Michael before. The strength of this guardian is almost the same as that of a legendary mecha master. Even stronger. I'm no match. Xia Xingchen immediately calculated the huge gap between the enemy and us. The bronze statue stood on the white jade square and had no intention of chasing. Its eyes flashed red light, staring at Xia Xingchen firmly. After a while, it suddenly sighed, shook its head and said, I didn't expect that I would wait for tens of thousands of years, and what I waited for was such a weak creature. Come on, use your full strength to attack me. I'll give you a chance. If you fail, then you will only die. That's what you said. Xia Xingchen pursed his lips, and his eyes became blank. Wow. 6 silver white drills appeared out of thin air and floated behind the Kinglang mecha. I'm no match for a close range attack. Xia Xingchen thought to himself, I can only use all my strength and deliver a fatal blow. A big hole was broken in the cockpit of the Kinglang mecha. Through the damaged part, Xia Xingchen could be seen sitting in front of the control console, covered in blood, with his eyes burning with fighting spirit. The bronze statue suddenly exclaimed in a low voice when he saw Xia Xingchen's appearance. Try my strongest blow. Xia Xingchen poured all his mental power into 6 silver white drills and stabbed them at the head of the bronze statue. Whoosh 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 whoosh. 6 silver white shadows passed through the air like 6 thin lines, so fast that the naked eye could not catch them at all. Bang. For some reason, the bronze statue did not react, or it simply did not have time to react. The drill pierced its head with 6 holes. Alien, you won. The huge body of the bronze statue fell down, dust flying, no longer moving, and the scarlet light in its eyes went out, as if it had lost its vitality. Huff, huff, huff. Xia Xingchen panted heavily. His attack just now had completely exhausted his mental strength. If the huge bronze statue didn't fall, then he would be the one to fall. Did I win? Did I really win? Xia Xingchen looked at his hands doubtfully. Did he really have the power to defeat this statue that was comparable to a legendary mecha master? Xia Xingchen felt that something was wrong. The strength shown by the bronze statue at the beginning was overwhelming. He had no chance of winning. But the bronze statue was destroyed after one attack. High attack and low defense? Xia Xingchen felt something was wrong. Who cares? Anyway, the bronze statue has lost its vitality. Xia Xingchen shook his head, drove the Kinglang mecha, jumped over the wreckage of the bronze statue, and entered the tower. The tower was a huge maze with complex terrain. Xia Xingchen drove the Kinglang mecha along the spiral staircase to the top of the tower. Xia Xingchen didn't know that, as soon as he entered the tower, 11 bronze statues, also 100 meters high, stepped into the huge jade square. The bodies of these bronze statues are all emitting golden light, and they are powerful. There is not only one guardian of the Heart of Thunder, but a total of 12. These bronze statues are male and female, with different shapes. They are made by the fishmen according to the appearance of the gods they believe in. Pajiandang. Stop pretending. The full strength attack of that tiny alien race just now can't cause any harm to you at all. Get up. A female bronze statue with a snake's tail said in a deep voice. Boom. The huge bronze statue knocked down by Xia Xingchen quickly stood up, and the wound on its head healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it returned to normal without any scars. Mazu, you are here. Pajiandang's intelligence is far higher than Xia Xingchen imagined, and he was actually pretending to be dead. Pajiandang, why did you pretend to be dead and let that alien race enter the holy tower and touch the Heart of Thunder? He is so weak, you can crush him to death with just one finger. The bronze statue named Mazu shouted loudly. You shouldn't blame me, but thank me. I helped you achieve what you always dreamed of. Boston smiled. Death. We are the same. We all desire death. Sweet death. Chapter 974 Infinite Life, Infinite Pain. Boston, what do you mean? Death. Can we really die and be liberated? The statues were all stunned, with shock in their tone. Heart of Thunder. Boston sighed. Heart of Thunder has given us endless energy. It also gave us almost infinite life. Over the long years, our wisdom has slowly evolved, and finally broke free from the shackles, and became a real life. However, if I have a choice, I would rather not become a life. I would rather be as muddle-headed as those steel guards on the streets. The statues nodded, indicating that they agreed with Boston's words. The artificial intelligence of these 12 statues is relatively advanced. Like Carlos, after a long time, they have evolved into life, becoming an independent individual, a silicon-based life that knows how to think and has emotions. The emotion they experience most deeply is loneliness. Endless years have brought them not happiness, but pain. Terrible, too terrible. I don't want to be lonely like this, I'd rather die. Bossedong shook his head, his tone filled with endless sadness. Death is the final destination of life. Sweet death. The same for us. Mazu nodded, his eyes sad. Our road has come to an end. It is impossible to move forward. Only death can bring liberation. The other bronze statues also nodded. They originally did not have the foundation to awaken wisdom. However, after a long time, stones will also bloom. They finally awakened wisdom and became life. Unfortunately, it was a broken life. The goal of life is to evolve and become a celestial being. These defective products have no ability to evolve further and can't learn more emotions except loneliness. For such a painful life, death is a relief. They all long for death. But they can't die. They can't die, even if they want to die. This is the greatest sorrow. Their kernel program does not allow self-destruction or cannibalism. Moreover, the energy of the Thunder Heart is too strong. Even if it is damaged by accident, the self-repair program will run and completely repair it. Heart of Thunder, you have brought us powerful strength, infinite life, and infinite pain. Boston sighed, only by destroying the Heart of Thunder can we be truly liberated. Impossible. Boston, your idea is good, but it's impossible. That alien race is too small. With his strength, it's impossible for him to get close to the Heart of Thunder. We don't need to do anything. He will be burned to ashes by the high temperature of the Heart of Thunder. Mazu shook his head. He is indeed very small. Even if he is driving that machine, he is still very small. But, you don't know what I saw. Boston's eyes flashed. Human. I'm not mistaken. He is a human. A human who suddenly disappeared from the universe. The god of the fish people. How many years have passed? The human is finally back. Human. It's really a human. The creator who created the Heart of Thunder and gave the fish people infinite energy. If it is a human, even the weakest human can definitely control the Heart of Thunder. The statues sighed, with excitement and expectation on their faces. Boom. The Azure Dragon Mecha smashed through a wall and broke out of the huge maze in the tower. In front of Xia Xingchen, a spiral staircase leading up appeared, winding and seemingly endless. His divine sense carefully scanned the stairs, and there were many traps on the stairs, but none of them could escape Xia Xingchen's divine sense. This tower is really dangerous. However, none of them are as dangerous as the huge bronze statue in the Jade Square. Xia Xingchen was not in a hurry, driving the Azure Dragon Mecha, step by step, slowly going up. The higher he went, the stronger the performance of the Azure Dragon Mecha became. This shows that the Azure Dragon Mecha is getting closer and closer to the Heart of Thunder. On the spiral staircase, Xia Xingchen carefully observed the tower. There are exquisite murals on the stairs and walls. The content of the painting is how the fish people obtained the favor of the ancient humans and grew from a weak race in the deep sea to one of the overlords of the nearby starfield. The Heart of Thunder was also given by the ancient humans. Although the technology of the fish people is advanced, they do not have the technology to make the Heart of Thunder. Ancient humans are really kind and generous. Energy like the Heart of Thunder was not only given to the fishmen, but also to the orcs. Xia Xingchen thought to himself. However, the technology of the orcs seems to be higher than that of the fishmen. The orcs use the Heart of Thunder as energy for their mechas, and the fishmen use it as energy for the entire planet. Finally, the spiral staircase came to an end. A door with a flashing blue light was in front. Crackling, electric sparks flashed on the door. Xia Xingchen tried it carefully and found that this electric door was just a bluff and would not cause any harm to him at all. He passed through the electric door easily. Xia Xingchen didn't know that he was actually on the verge of death just now. This electric door is very dangerous. Any creature that passes through it rashly will trigger the protection device and be burned into a ball of ashes. Except for humans. The Heart of Thunder was originally made by ancient humans. Like the Star Domain Arc, it uses genetic recognition technology. Only human genes can pass through this electric switch. Other creatures cannot pass the genetic test and will die. The top of the tower. Xia Xingchen looked at the huge flashing electric ball in front of him and was extremely shocked. This electric ball was blue all over and it seemed to have a thin film on the outside. There were endless lightning and thunder inside and electric arcs kept jumping out. It looked like a large ball of lightning. With Xia Xingchen's knowledge, he didn't understand what kind of technology was used to make the Heart of Thunder. Ancient humans were celestial beings and their technology was too advanced, far beyond the scope of today's human understanding. Heart of Thunder. Come on. Xia Xingchen licked his lips gently, suppressed the excitement in his heart, drove the Qinglang Mecha, stretched out his palm, and gently touched the Heart of Thunder. The Heart of Thunder seemed to feel something, and the arcs jumped more actively. Whoosh! The electric light of the Heart of Thunder gathered into a blue river, flowing into its whole body along the fingers of the Qinglang Mecha. The entire body of the Qinglang Mecha was flashing with blue electric light, as if there was an electric dragon wrapped around the Mecha. In the end, all the electric light gathered on the chest of the Qinglang Mecha. According to the design drawings, there was originally a hole with a diameter of 1 meter here. Now the electric light gathered together and condensed into a glowing sphere that could not be looked directly at. Power. Such a strong power. Xia Xingchen clenched his fists excitedly, feeling the true power of the Qinglang Mecha. Equipped with the Heart of Thunder, the Qinglang Mecha obtained almost infinite energy. No need to worry about the endurance problem anymore. The Heart of Thunder brings infinite energy. Maybe I can equip it with a jump engine. Let the Qinglang Mecha also gain the ability to jump through time and space. A bold idea popped up in Xia Xingchen's mind. Chapter 975 Attack at Sea. The Mecha is equipped with a jump device, which allows the Mecha to realize the function of time and space jump. This idea is not that no one has thought of it. In fact, the jump Mecha is the dream of every Mecha designer. However, this dream is too far away and almost impossible to achieve. The jump Mecha needs to overcome several technical difficulties. First, the jump requires huge energy. The nuclear fusion engine used in ordinary mechas cannot provide such a huge amount of energy at all. This problem is not a problem for Xia Xingchen, who has the Heart of Thunder. Second, when jumping, the body will withstand the huge force of tearing time and space. This problem is not a problem for the Qinglang Mecha with the Qinglang Sacred Wood as the fuselage. The Qinglang Sacred Wood has high strength and good toughness. It is enough to withstand the violent pulling during time and space jump. Third, the space on the Mecha is too small, and there is not enough space to store enough daily necessities to cope with long-term interstellar travel. For Xia Xingchen, who has a portable space, this problem is also solved. 3 major problems, all solved. The rest were minor technical problems. With the help of Jia and Xiao Cap, Xia Xingchen thought that these minor problems were not difficult to overcome. Jumping Mecha. It can be put on the agenda. Xia Xingchen's heart was burning. He knew very well that a Mecha that could jump would be elusive and its combat power would be terrifying. Boom boom boom. Just as Xia Xingchen was standing on the top of the tower, daydreaming, a roar suddenly came from the tower. Xia Xingchen looked down and saw that the tower began to fall apart and collapse. It was not just the tower. The whole city was roaring, and the buildings collapsed one after another. Endless smoke and dust rose, burying the bones inside. Crack, crack, crack. Xia Xingchen heard a strange sound and looked up. He saw that the transparent barrier covering the entire city had countless crisscrossing cracks at this moment, like a spider web. It could no longer withstand the pressure of 20,000 meters of seawater, and began to break. I'll take the Heart of Thunder. This city has lost its energy source, and the protective wall will also collapse. Soon, this place will be submerged by the sea. The last trace of the civilization of the fish people will disappear without a trace. Xia Xingchen immediately realized that this city was about to be destroyed. Let's go. Xia Xingchen did not hesitate, driving the Qinglang Mecha, and leaped into the air. At the same time, 10,000 meters of seawater broke through the protective wall and fell down with a horrible sound. The power of nature is extremely terrifying. The whole city was instantly submerged by the raging seawater and crushed into powder. Through the water curtain, Xia Xingchen saw that this city that should have been destroyed long ago finally ushered in its own end, and he felt a sense of emotion in his heart. Xia Xingchen's eyes fell on the white jade square. 12 huge bronze statues, each 100 meters high, put their hands on their chests and bowed deeply, as if to thank him. Among the bronze statues, there was clearly the naked old man who was hit by Xia Xingchen, and whose lower body was an octopus. He was not defeated by me at all. Xia Xingchen's heart trembled. It's over. Thank you, human. Thank you for bringing us the end. The faces of the bronze statues all showed expressions of relief. They could finally say goodbye to their long lives, endless pain, and welcome the longed for death. Boom. The bronze statues were submerged in the sea water and disappeared forever with the city. Xia Xingchen didn't notice that the crystal pyramid in his mind suddenly began to flash white light. 20,000 meters under the sea, countless huge sea monsters in the trench. The road was full of dangers. Xia Xingchen didn't have the mind to think about it. Even if the King Lang Mecha was equipped with the Thunder Heart, he had to go all out. Whoosh. Over the vast sea of the Azure Star, a team of mechas were flying at low altitude. These mechas were all equipped with star-devouring armor and had the emblem of the Bloody Mary Star Pirates. The leader was Li Huami, who was driving the death mecha. Li Huami's pretty face was filled with anxiety, and she asked in a low voice, Tai Xiang, are you sure that the rescue signal sent by Master Crossing was sent from this sea area? Big sister, yes, it is here. Tai Xiang replied, I didn't expect that Master Crossing actually left the store secretly. I just don't know what he was doing in this desolate sea area. What danger did he encounter? As powerful as he is, he actually sent out a rescue signal. No matter what kind of danger he encountered, we must rescue him. Master Crossing is a member of our Star Pirates. Li Huami's tone was very firm. Yes. The Star Pirates also shouted loudly together. During this period, Xia Xingchen used his strength, technology, and character to deeply impress the Star Pirates. Even if they knew that there were enemies eyeing them and wanted to deal with the Star Pirates, leaving the central island would be very dangerous. All the members of the Bloody Mary Star Pirates did not complain at all. Beep beep. At this time, the alarm device on the mecha sounded frantically. Enemy attack. Tai Xiang was slightly startled, and his eyes swept across the endless sea. There was no shadow of the enemy at all. Under the sea, Li Huami reacted faster, shouted loudly, and hurriedly drove the mecha to make evasive actions. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Countless laser beams shot out from the bottom of the sea, like countless long spears, crossfire, blocking the way forward and backward. In addition to laser beams, there were hundreds of tracking missiles flying out from under the sea and hitting the panicked mecha group. The space within sight was flashing with dazzling light. Boom boom boom. The ears were completely filled with crazy explosions. A series of light balls formed by missile explosions appeared in the air, and from a distance, they looked like a string of beads. Li Huami's reaction was not slow. He controlled the mecha to perform irregular evasive actions and avoided the first wave of laser cross attacks. However, Li Huami could not avoid the second wave of missile attacks anyway. In the indiscriminate attack of the missiles, the death mech was severely damaged, leaving a trail and falling from the air into the sea. Fortunately, the defense capability of the Devourer armor was strong. Otherwise, Li Huami would have been destroyed by the fierce artillery fire together with the death mech. The other mechas of the Star Pirates were the same, falling from the air and falling into the sea. The Devourer armor outside the mech was tattered and full of black marks of being burned by artillery fire. Swish. Without waiting for Li Huami to resist, the death mech, like the other mechas that fell into the water, was like a big fish, covered by a transparent giant net, and fished out of the sea. Damn it. Li Huami struggled hard, but the material of this alloy giant net was elastic, and the more he struggled, the more it shrank, and finally the death mech could not move. Ha ha ha. Li Huami, you finally fall into my hands. More than 80 amphibious mechas flew out from under the sea, led by Morris, who was driving the ugly devil mecha. His eyes were sarcastic, the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned, and his smile was playful. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.